A lone figure cut through the white-out blizzard teeth, chattering against the brutal chill until a faint noise froze him in his tracks. A scrawny feline trudged through the deep drift's claws, snagging his pant leg in a desperate bid for help, gazing up with wide, begging eyes. The creature's sudden urgency jolted him. It spun around, letting out a sharp, demanding cry that refused to be ignored. It darted down a snowy side street, clearly signaling him to trail behind. Unable to turn away, he chased after his little guide. The chase ended in a gloomy alley, where the sight hit him like a truck, a huddle of tiny kittens, snow-buried, motionless, practically ice cubes. Adrenaline kicked in, and he scrambled to save them. He crashed through his front door, screaming for his mom. Together they went into triage mode, cradling the freezing bundles to share body heat. But one tiny body felt like a stone fur frozen solid. Fear gripped his gut, but he frantically rubbed the stiff frame. Warm water did nothing. Silence. Guilt choked him, whispering he was too late, but he refused to let this life fade. Just as hope withered, a faint squeak shattered the silence. The little fighter had clawed its way back from the brink. Flash forward through the chaos, the absolute mayhem of raising a litter of destructive fur demons. The 4 a.m. alarm clocks, the shredded upholstery. Back in the now, the injured troublemaker nudged a toy toward him. He looked at Peepaju, guilt in his eyes as he filled the bowl. "I gotta go, buddy. Last time, I swear." Gripping his VR headset, he dropped a final promise to return. He slid the visor down, and his bedroom walls dissolved into pixels. Eyes sharp, focus absolute. Welcome to Mataria. A golden-clad tank materialized, staring down a nightmare. Teammates screamed, incantations buffs, flaring as the night charged the front line, blasting a torrent of holy luminescence. Light rained like artillery fire, hammering their target, a towering violet behemoth. The beast tanked the hits like they were nothing, winding up a devastating haymaker that shook the virtual ground. It forged a blade of pure void energy. This was it, the endgame, the moment they had been grinding toward for days. The knight roared a vow of victory against Colossus Locke, planting his feet as the lion crest on his shield blazed to life. Locke fired a screen-wiping purple beam. The hooded captain didn't flinch, barking commands over the comms. Shadow spikes shredded the earth. "Row 2 on me," he screamed, popping his ultimate defense skill. The assault was relentless. He called the final play evade and counter, now. Light clashed with darkness in a blinding explosion. Divine skills triggered stacking defense buffs and healing the squad. Backline mages prepped a swirling emerald spell. "This is it," the captain yelled. "One shot to win this." The boys grinned. Checkmate. The second row dropped their combined ult in perfect sync. Pure grit on every face. The captain held the line with a golden barrier as the beast charged a white mechanic blast. Then disaster. The captain's avatar started glitching, pixelating. The raid's magic fizzled as confusion spread. The boss's attack hit unchecked. Panic swept the ranks, the tank was gone. Red text blared across the UI. User Kim, forced logout. A rescue protocol triggered instantly. Real-world Kim spasmed in bed, ripping the headset off to find a cat sitting on his chest. He lost it. "You ruined everything." His scream of frustration tore through the silent neighborhood, echoing into the void. Cut to a high-stakes boardroom. The topic? Mataria, the virtual realm, where work from home means log in to grind. New identities, new lives, where tanking is a career path, and top-tier players are literal A-list celebrities. Insane fame, crazy money. But then the lawyer dropped the hammer, the raid boss special act. Real money means real laws. The gist. You wipe the raid, you pay the price. High-tier dungeons now need ironclad legal contracts. And this, the lawyer pointed, is the bill. 15 mercs slapping a lawsuit on their leader Kim. The damages, over 1 billion, won. And Kim, he owned it. He agreed to pay every single cent. He walked out of that office, a broken man. A guildie caught him on the sidewalk, breathless. "Is it true, man? You sold your gear," Kim nodded grimly. "It was the only way out. He liquidated everything. His entire legacy gone. God-tier armor, rare weapons, poof." The guildie looked confused. But why try a solo run now? The guy dropped another bomb. He was quitting the game. Kim bowed low, crushed by guilt, but his friend stopped him with a box. "Take it. It's my rig." Kim tried to refuse, but the guy shoved the heavy box into his arms. "I insist, Mr. Kim." One final salute, and he was alone. Back in his silent apartment, the weight of the day crushed him. He slid down, the doorframe drained, plans wrecked, future gone. But then a paw tapped him. Papaju cast, and all was ready to play. He finally caved. Just 5 minutes. That was the deal. He prepped the feather toy, warming up his wrist for the performance. Papaju locked in, eyes dialed. Boom. The cat launched with insane agility, cracking a genuine smile through the guy's gloom. Seeing that restlessness, he flipped the switch. Game on. He watched the predator stalk toward the cardboard fortress. Time to lock in. He channeled his inner mouse, skittering the bait across the floor and drifting the toy around the furniture like a pro. Papaju tracked the bogey from the shadows. The second that lure dangled over the box whack, a paw fired out with sniper precision. The kitty went tumbling. Caught up in the hype, he kept teasing the injured furball, keeping the energy high. He tried to coax a little more playtime out of Pipaju, watching the poor guy struggle back into his cardboard castle. It brought a smile to his face. Pure, wholesome vibes. Papaju was annoyed, sure, but still swatting at the lure. Hunter mode engaged. The cat lunged with shocking speed. Afterward, he whipped up a gourmet meal for the little guy, keeping the game going from afar. But deep down, the anxiety hit. The vet's warning was replaying on a loop in his head. He recalled explaining Pipaju's crazy energy levels. He needed a way to help the cat burn steam without wrecking its health. Ping. Notification on screen. A hospital bill he totally ghosted. Harsh reminder, his bank account is on zero. Rent money gone. Desperate times call for desperate measures. He dug out a dusty box filled with ancient gaming gear. He told the cat, "This is kinda your fault, buddy," before jamming the empty box on his head. Weird flex for a past mistake. Clock strikes 12. Showtime. He said his goodbyes, laid back, and initiated the login sequence. He spawned into a hellscape of magma and stone. High risk, massive reward. Fishing in a lava zone with zero gear. That is a suicide mission. He was betting everything on game knowledge from 6 years ago. Risky since the meta definitely changed. Suddenly yanked something massive, bit the line. The secret spot still works. A lava trout. That is a top-tier crafting mat. He settled in, ready to grind for that sweet cash. He cast his line back into the molten river. For the first time in forever, he actually felt peace. The last 5 years had been a brutal, non-stop hustle. He'd lost everything, yet right here he felt weirdly calm. He fought back, the tears threatening to spill. But then boom, something violent rocked his fishing line. Total shock. Nothing should be biting this fast. Was the Phoenix boss early? Suddenly, a massive portal ripped the sky wide open. A pillar of light nuked the ground, unveiling a creature made of ethereal fire. But that was no Phoenix. New mob alert, raid level boss. And he was way too close to run, way too nerfed to fight. One fish in the inventory, that's it. And now this monster was spawn camping his only moneymaker. Massive jaws clamped around him. Then a giant tongue slapped his face. The beast was literally taste testing him. He just took the slobbering tears of pure frustration, stinging his eyes. What is even happening right now? Is this the end? Death by licking. Serious, he screamed, begging for a quick game over. Just end it, he yelled, swearing he'd respawn and get his revenge. The creature just stared down at him. Then it leaned in close and, meow. Our boy was left completely brain-broken as that impossible sound echoed again. His brain crashed. He was positive he heard a deep, gravelly meow. This nightmare monster was a cat. A crazy idea sparked. He glanced at his fishing rod. If this thing is really a feline, maybe it wants a snack. He offered the bait up, a total Hail Mary play. He cast the line, sending the fish flying through the air, then spun around and bolted for his life. The reel screamed it was working. The giant cat beast pounced on the lure, but he wasn't letting go of his catch that easy. He yanked back on the rod. Sharp claws snagged the other end, and suddenly the small creature morphed into a hulking titan. It yanked the rod, launching him through the air while claiming the prize. It shrank back down and inhaled the fish. One gulp. Gone. Its eyes instantly flared with a surge of power. Pure satisfaction. Then the creature leaped off the cliff, diving straight at him, wrapped in crackling energy. He watched in horror as a massive blast detonated, shattering the ground from the sheer impact force. Dust settled, revealing a majestic spirit beast. He was stunned. What even is this thing? The beast locked eyes with him. Thud. A massive paw landed right next to his head. It leaned in, sniffing him, then gently shoved him onto his back, and started kneading his chest. Literally making biscuits. But at that size, absolutely terrifying. Welp, he's dead. Ghost at the graveyard. He needed a new plan. He popped the map destination, still the lava zone. He sprinted through the wasteland, praying the beast had despawned. Nope. A heavy paw slammed him into the dirt. The monster loomed over his corpse like a trophy. It wasn't leaving. It was strictly spawn camping him. A desperate plan clicked in his brain. There was only one play left in the book. He had to get up close and personal. The beast looked dead to the world, eyes shut tight, offering a golden ticket he couldn't ignore. Flash. The resurrection light blazed right next to the monster. He spawned back in, and the beast didn't even twitch. He crept away silent as a shadow, knowing one wrong step meant game over. Then, shing. A claw popped out. His foot tapped the ground, and those eyes snapped open. The massive creature towered over him. It had been baiting him the whole time. A massive paw hooked his cape, jerking him back like a rag doll. The monster's gaze bore straight into his soul. Bam! It launched him with insane force. He went airborne again as the "You died" notification mocked him on screen. The scarred lion looked totally baffled by the physics, but our guy grabbed the chance to hit that respawn button. Time for plan B. He channeled his inner Black Ops training. A flash of light and he was back in the arena. He hit the deck instantly, playing possum, motionless. He stole a tiny peek at the enemy. It was just lying there, watching. He held his breath until his lungs burned, waiting for an opening, eyes barely cracking. He tensed to make his move. Boom! The beast was inches from his face. It could hear a pin drop. Then came the tongue bath. Gross. He was trapped, convinced he was dealing with a total psychopath of a mob. Back in reality, he screamed into his pillow. Pure gamer rage. He thrashed around before deciding to just rage quit and sleep. He woke up salty about the game's broken mechanics. Then through groggy eyes, he spotted something weird. His real-life cat was snoozing with its head in a toy helmet. He smirked. Yo, Piju. Piju. He froze. A crazy connection sparked in his brain. An impossible theory that hit him like a truck. That beast had an X-shaped scar. It was in the exact same spot as his cat scar. No way. He laughed it off. Yeah, right. Cats don't have Steam accounts. It was just a glitch in the Matrix. Next day, he logged back in praying the server was clear. He scanned the horizon hoping his farming spot was safe. The wasteland looked empty, sweet. Then a shadow from above. His hope turned to pure salt as a massive shape slammed down. The beast landed right in his face again. It leaned in and let out a soft meow. He was absolutely done with this game. The giant stepped forward, shadow engulfing him. Our boy squeezed his eyes shut, bracing for the death blow, but no attack came. The thing stretched like a giant yoga master. Then it turned around and stuck its butt in his face. He stared at the giant rear end, totally confused. What is this behavior, ping? A system window popped up. Welcome, Kim Butler. A forced class change panic mode initiated as dark energy started swirling. A vortex of darkness swallowed him whole. Pure power raged around him as the transformation sequence kicked in. Application complete. Class Butler. He stared in disbelief. His entire paladin tank build, deleted. A booming voice echoed in his skull. The giant beast was using telepathy. Great. I am K-Linus the Conqueror. Hard to take the legend seriously when it was stuck in that awkward pose. K-Linus claimed he was paralyzed from the summoning. Our boy wondered if this was just a buggy fetch quest. The reward was something called RPP, but the legendary Conqueror just let out a weak mew. Confusion level 100. Thwack! He smacked the monster. K-Linus looked shocked. First time getting disciplined. The MC vented his frustration at this glitchy nightmare. K-Linus offered to revert the class, but he paused, checking the Butler stats. Job description, glorified cat sitter. Then he saw the debt counter flashing red. Oh no. Suddenly negotiating this gig seemed like a high IQ play. K-Linus fidgeted, waiting for his new servant to speak. He flashed a confident grin. The name's Kim Butler. He claimed to be a top-tier feline expert. He challenged the beast's doubt, reading its posture like a book. The beast was skeptical. He moved in slow, engaging taming mode. The monster actually leaned into his hand. A rumbling purr vibrated through the air. I'm the best you'll find, he lied. Ping. Status high anxiety. The beast's ears perked up. Trouble on the horizon. The mobs were respawning. A fiery salamander spawned in. The butler adjusted his imaginary glasses. Diagnosis: severe separation anxiety. It's the new environment, he claimed. The beast roared. I will conquer this land. The salamander looked completely lost. The beast pounced. Stress levels spiked critical. Then flash. A blinding explosion of light erupted. With eyes locked in laser focus, it lunges, but the strike whiffs, just grazing the tail, and the salamander scuttles away. Stress levels hitting the red zone. The butler sees his opening and bolts forward, just as the little critter winds up a fire blast. He triggers a unique skill, Capture. A blinding beam locks the target down. Secure. A shimmering blue portal swirls open. A pristine dress shoe steps through the void as Kim the butler emerges. Mission accomplished. Time to cool the master's temper. A quick flashback reveals the grind crafting a target. He offers the tiny lizard to the great beast. The beast's eyes burn with icy rage. The tiny victim trembles before its doom, until a massive paw slams down, releasing all that pent-up aggression. The service, a total success. The master's stress meter plummets. The beast confirms it, pure relaxation. With the boss chill, it's negotiation time. Kim boldly demands days off and a real paycheck. But the beast freezes. A butler. Having a personal life. The very concept turns the air heavy and dark. Kim sweats but stands his ground. He needs this. Then the master drops a bombshell. It's broke. 0 funds. Pivot time. Kim suggests keeping all the hunting loot instead. Since Kim has to pilot the body anyway, the beast strikes the deal. He happily accepts the new terms. Honestly, that old fishing income was starting to worry him. But monopolizing a whole party's loot, way more profitable. He clenches his fist, career path secured. The beast loses interest and wanders off. To Kim, it's just a gloriously oversized cat. He preps the final task, channeling raw energy into his palms. Ding system notification. The dish is ready. Just as he thinks about calling the master, a massive wolf beast crashes the party. It was drawn by the scent. Turns out treat crafting is basically a summoning skill. Even the beast's eyes go wide in surprise. Gulp. Food gone in a split second, bowl licked clean. The beast demands seconds, and the butler scrambles to obey. A new plan forms. He quickly harvests materials from the fallen monster. A system window confirms loot acquired. With the master motivated, the hunt is on. A smirk plays on Kim's lips as the beast shreds through a freshly spawned creature. The butler watches the carnage from the sidelines, banking loot without lifting a finger. Behold the power of auto-hunting. As the beast effortlessly wipes the field clean, and Kim vows to keep providing 5-star service. He starts crafting another treat while the massive predator waits patiently like a good boy. Area clear, time to check the quest log. New tutorial quest unlocked, travel to the nearby village. But there's one giant furry problem standing in the way. The beast's stress spikes the second it leaves its territory. Its gaze drifts down to the bubbling molten hellscape below. The butler observes closely as the creature inspects a glowing orb. Then he drops the news. He's got a plan for the master. He explains the mission: head to the village and gather critical intel. The master agrees, even as the butler admits, yeah, it's technically a quest. But those powerful territorial instincts kick in, locking the beast in place. Then the butler remembers defeating other monsters, expanded the domain in the past. The realization hits. To roam free, they have to take down the Phoenix, the fiery ruler of this zone. The master asks about its power level. Bad news, it's an immortal bird that buffs up every time it respawns. Unfazed, the beast declares it will crush the bird regardless. But there's a catch. The Phoenix is pure flame, and cats have a hardwired instinct to run from fire. It's a primal fear he needs to conquer. Suddenly, the beast seizes up. It collapses, thrashing and rolling uncontrollably on the ground. It lands in a heap, admitting the butler was right about the fear. The demand: do whatever it takes to help me fix this. The butler's solution appears instantly, a bizarre scaly fish. The beast creeps toward it while lying on the ground, totally oblivious to the butler's twisted scheme. The plan A: quick dip in the magma. Kim stands over the molten sea, a fishing line tied directly to his master. The beast panics. Can this body even survive that heat? Kim drops a critical fact check. You are, in fact, a boss monster. A shocking reveal that even seems to surprise the butler himself. With newfound swagger, Kim casts his line into the lava. But then a sound from behind breaks his focus. It's the beast, sitting on a rock, looking completely unimpressed. It already lost interest in the weird fish. That snack is simply not worth a magma bath. Unfazed, Kim switches to plan B, activating a powerful return spell. I'll be right back, he promises. The beast instantly panics, consumed by a sudden crushing fear of abandonment. Watching him fade into digital dust, the creature was left pacing the lava shoreline, totally stressing out. Zap. He materialized instantly in the middle of Sorrentium City and made a beeline for the adventurer's vault. The shopkeeper flashed a customer service smile, ready to fill an order that was straight up bizarre. We're talking sugarcane, spring water, and dynamite. You know, the starter pack for taming a nightmare. He laid out the plan with a sunny grin, but as he turned to bounce, a weird feeling tugged at his gut. Then it hit him like a truck. He was missing the one item that held this whole crazy scheme together. Cut back to the Inferno Zone. A twisted ancient tree defied the heat, its roots gripping the magma like claws. He fired a grappling hook into the fireproof bark, hoisted himself up, and dangled a mysterious package from the high ground. The bait: sugarcane. Apparently this monster has a massive sweet tooth. Our suited hero remembered exactly how to exploit this gluttonous weakness as a nose started twitching in the shadows. He chilled on a jagged branch, waiting. Suddenly, a tiny flame spirit popped out, claiming to be the legendary Cerberus. It let out a roar that was supposed to be scary, but honestly, it was just a spicy little candle. It immediately started munching on the snacks. That's when he pulled the trigger on the trap, uncorking a bottle of magical spring water and dumping it from above. Splash. The flames died out instantly, revealing a soaking wet, totally shook fire rat. It squealed, absolutely furious about the prank. He started roasting the little guy, calling it adorable, which only made the rat's tough guy act even funnier. It tried to talk smack, bragging about its god-tier power, and even generously offered to let him live if he kept the sugar coming. But the guy just laughed at the empty threat. Then the realization dawned on the rat. Wet fur means zero fire magic. Panic set in, and it lunged, trying to speed blitz him. It zoomed past in a blur. But before it could retreat to the safety of the lava, it dived into the molten pool out of habit. Big mistake. He smirked, knowing that holy water had completely nerfed its heat resistance. The rat instantly shrieked as the lava actually burned it. It scrambled out of the magma, thrashing wildly. Tail smoking and crispy, the creature collapsed, totally defeated. Cue the system notification. A tutorial window popped up: how to create a minion. Visuals showed a fancy butler serving a silver platter, but inside that dish was a terrified voice. The tiny pink creature was hyperventilating under the lid as the butler spoke, coldly announcing it was a necessary sacrifice. The rat froze, realizing it was on the menu. It started wailing about how rigged the game was, screaming for anyone to save it. Then the butler offered a lifeline: serve me and you live. The rat didn't even hesitate, begging for orders. Option A, become a loyal minion and get immunity from friendly fire. Option B, betray the master and push him in the lava. The rat smashed that option A button so fast. Deal sealed. He summoned the interface and slammed the glowing start command. A neon magic circle flared up, wrapping the little guy in blinding light as raw energy flooded its system. Transformation complete. Steam hissed from under the silver dome as a brand new beast stood ready by the magma river. The butler walked up to his main target with pure swagger. The target, a massive behemoth, grumbled about Kim Butler being late. Kim just bowed, promising a show worth the wait. Poof! Smoke exploded right in the beast's face. It squinted through the haze, ears twitching at a faint squeak. Confused by the scent, it watched a tiny mouse step out of the fog. The beast felt a weird vibe. Its heart started racing, predatory instinct kicking in. The little mouse stomped its foot, with zero fear. A quick flashback showed the butler giving Squeaky the game plan. The mission: bait the big guy. Chugging a speed potion, Squeaky zoomed off like a bullet. The chase was on. They tore across the scorched wasteland, Squeaky clearing a massive canyon in one leap. The beast was hot on his heels, slamming into the ground on the other side, roaring that the snack wouldn't escape. But Squeaky had moves. He left a trail of fire walling off the path with a sudden blaze. The monster didn't care. It vaulted over the firewall, chasing the mouse into a winding gorge, where the butler was camping out by a choke point. He realized the gap between them was too small. He had to blow the charge now or get caught in the blast. The beast lunged, claws glowing with lethal energy. It hit Squeaky like a truck Kim Butler had played him. A spiky-haired guy screamed for the mouse to scatter, but the monster's glowing eyes were already locked on a new target. Boom! The beast pile drives the man into the earth with bone-shattering impact. The pink mouse squeaks out a terrified apology for the mess, and absolutely books it. But the predator is instantly on his six, closing the gap. Just as Squeaky vanishes into a sketchy, jagged crevice, the wolf skids to a halt, senses screaming that this is a trap. The narrow tunnel opens up, revealing a nightmare landscape straight out of hell. Perched on a lonely rock spire, the mouse waits. But out of nowhere, the beast touches down right behind him, radiating pure energy and telling him it's game over. Suddenly, the mouse is rocking a tiny bow tie, looking dapper and totally unbothered. He taunts the wolf for a chase before diving into the empty void. Zero hesitation, the wolf launches headfirst into the abyss. But panic kicks in as gravity takes over, twisting desperately mid-fall to dodge a fatal impact. High above on the cliff, his master flickers into view just as the beast claws onto a ledge. Hanging by a thread, the beast looks up. For a split second, his master gives off major house cat vibes. The master starts grilling him about this family he's supposedly fighting for, calling him a cute but overly sweaty tryhard. A core memory unlocks the gentle touch of a real cat. The feline pulls back hesitant before finally committing, and resting a soft paw on his hand. The nostalgia hits hard, bringing a faint smile to his face as he reaches out, vowing to share his courage. Sich. He violently slaps the beast's paw away. The wolf plummets into the darkness while the master watches, ice cold and totally unbothered. The small beast splashes into a churning ocean of magma. The man in black watches his companion sink beneath the surface. But wait, he breaches massive and evolved, realizing the lava actually feels amazing. Fear of fire deleted. Now he's ready to hunt the phoenix. The duo stalks through the molten wasteland. Listening as the beast breaks down the raid mechanics, the phoenix buffs up every time it respawns. But his hype man, Kim Butler, swears he's got a strategy cooking. Ahead, the lava bubbles and a towering fiery silhouette begins to take shape. The phoenix has entered the chat, laughing at their death wish. This massive inferno is about to become their kill zone. As the winged beast crouches, locking eyes with the prey, the master knows Kalinus has the raw stats for this fight. But that immortality hack is the problem. The play snipe its core during the second respawn phase. Kalinus is stressing, doubting his body can tank that kind of damage. But Kim Butler doubles down, promising he'll make the impossible happen. The phoenix dive bombs from the heavens, eyes burning with ancient, apocalyptic rage. Kalinus charges, meeting the threat head-on. A tidal wave of fire consumes the entire map. But the beast pulls a pro move, splitting in two, dodging the flames with god-tier movement, wrapped in a blue aura. He launches into the air claws, ripping through the firebird. Kalinus slams the phoenix into the dirt with seismic force, and the creature disintegrates, screaming that it will rise again. Kim Butler radios the master. Phase 1 is clear, but he knows the boss is coming back twice as big and twice as nasty. A fireball starts revving up in the sky, flames erupting as it takes form. A laser beam of fire blasts forward with insane pressure. The phoenix is reborn from the ashes, swearing to turn this whole squad into dust. The beast roars, staring down the inferno, and leaps straight into the wall of fire. While the phoenix dominates the burning sky, it crashes down like a meteor aimed right at their heads. The main character and his beast stand shoulder to shoulder, camping in the flames. He drops the plan, wait for the cooldown when it tries to rise again. His team launches into the sky, intercepting the target mid-flight. The beast weaves through a bullet hell of fire blasts, closing the distance and grapples the phoenix in midair, locking it down with a vice grip. A blinding explosion of light rips through the sky. The MC can't believe they bagged it that easily. The defeated phoenix vows to respawn and scorch the earth. But the beast crushes its skull, permanently ending the server terror. Its fiery soul retreats back into the volcano. The MC orders his tiny sidekick to bait the master again, steeling himself, because the real boss fight starts now. Nearby, a hooded archer knocks an arrow ready to snipe. Right as the volcano blows its top, the ground splits open, unleashing a tsunami of fire, as the mountain roars to life. But this chaos, all part of the master plan. He sprints along the crumbling cliff edge, just as the lion beast lands with a thunderous crash, staring down a tiny pink creature in the smoke. It's a matchup of totally impossible, goofy odds. The beast's tail whips out, sending Squeaky flying, but the little guy is speed hacking too fast to catch. He kites the monster through the destruction, dodging a lethal strike by millimeters, leading the beast to the perfect kill box. A system HUD flickers into view. He calmly locks in the catapult's final coordinates. A blinding flash rips through the air, and boom, construction complete. The weapon is locked, loaded, and ready for chaos in seconds. He barks at Squeaky to hustle, hyping up the terrified furball to be a hero. Shaking like a leaf, the mouse crawls into the catapult's sling. With a savage battle cry, he yeets his tiny guide straight at the fiery core. The rodent screams as it plummets into the swirling inferno. As the lion beast swoops in for the kill shot, a memory hits Squeaky hard. Minions get immunity. Wait, he just got played. Kim Butler is busy popping off about his genius strategy, totally ignoring the traumatized mouse trembling on a silver platter. Poor Squeaky realizes this gig is straight up hell. Meanwhile, the wolf nods in approval, calling Kim's ruthless tactic a masterpiece. A server announcement crowns him the new king of the lava zone. His new crib, a massive, terrifying fortress of fire. He and the wolf navigate a sketchy bridge over bubbling magma. Inside the keep, the Holy Grail appears a special reward chest. It's the bonus loot for a world record clear time. Kim approaches the glowing box, heart pounding. Expecting gold, he flips the lid. His jaw drops. Inside sits a legendary sword and a swirling fiery orb. He instantly recognizes the drip. It's the Phoenix Blade Onconix. The wolf confirms it's a legit ancient relic, a literal gift from the Phoenix. Kim stares at the blade, drooling, and reaches out to snag his hard-earned prize. But the wolf towers over him, blocking the grab. Kim starts sweating desperately, citing the fine print of their contract. The wolf keeps it 100, ignoring the sword and eyeing the immortal flame. That shiny orb was the target the whole time. He lets Kim keep the blade. Without hesitating, Kim stashes the legendary loot into his inventory before the wolf changes its mind. Just as the wolf chills out and Kim thinks he's safe, wham! A massive paw swings straight for his head. His master is panting, looking confused and furious. He thinks he just got scammed out of the loot. Kim tries to explain it wasn't a ninja loot situation, but the master is seeing red. Kim quickly pulls out a glowing green orb. It's a ball of compressed high-grade leaves, a catnip ball. He prays this works on a giant mythical feline. Instant critical hit. The giant beast flops over, rolling around and purring like a kitten. Kim exhales, wiping the sweat from his brow. He remembers grabbing this trash item during an old event. Who knew hoarding junk would save his life? Now that he's not dying, Kim wants to treat the boss. He pulls up the auction house UI, hunting for top-tier meat and fish recipes. The menu is full of gourmet options, but his cooking stats are trash. He needs to power level his chef skills fast. Time to cash in on the grind. Boosting his skill costs a fortune, so he has to liquidate something massive. He lists a rare collectible for 14,000 gold. Desperate times call for desperate sales. Boom, sold. The Phoenix Blade vanishes for 14,000 gold instantly. A notification dings. He's officially an advanced expert chef. His master spots him studying the culinary arts, drooling at the promise of a real feast. Kim scans his new recipe book. Exotic monsters are cool, but for a giant cat, fish is the meta. He triggers his butler skill, treat crafting. He's not budgeting here. He's going all out. He buys the premium stuff. The system flags the fishtail as toxic, but with his maxed out skills, that's just a suggestion. Knife skills on point. He surgically removes the poison tail and scrapes the armored scales with blinding speed. A hydroblast cleans the fillet before he applies a savory glaze. Into the magical flames it goes. Perfection. The dish glows with a golden aura as he serves the masterpiece to the beast. The beast doesn't wait. He dives in face first and comes up chomping on the poisonous tail. Kim freezes in horror. He ate the toxic part first. A sharp tingle zaps the master's tongue, freezing him mid-chew. The beast buffers, processing the shock. But slowly, the sting fades into an explosion of sweetness. It's a hit. As the master raves about it, Kim grabs a piece for a quality check. The flavor hits him. The master nods. This is the distinct, rich taste of monkfish. Overwhelmed by the deliciousness, the giant beast collapses into a food coma. Best meal ever. The master thanks him for the feast. Kim bows low, soaking up the praise, and vows to grind even harder. Next, stop the wilderness. The duo pushes deep into a dense, endless forest. The beast tails his butler, closely convinced this wandering around is just a setup for a hidden quest. Kim's loyalty triggers a memory of his old pet cat. The master asks, "Yo, where is this village exactly?" The scenery is looping, and the master is getting salty. Kim admits they're technically lost but insists he's got it under control. Desperate, Kim asks for any clues about the master's past life. The beast drops a bomb: he used to be a powerful emperor. He completely merged with the shadows, dissolving his physical form into nothingness. But even in that deep slumber, a voice pierced the void, the desperate plea of his bloodline. Answering that, SOS, he materialized back in reality, laying eyes on Kim the butler first, and that is exactly where the master's flashback cuts to black. The butler's mind drifted to the ancient lore, remembering a 1,000-year history when 3 dark kingdoms stood as one unshakable empire. It hit him he was serving a living fossil from that legendary era. With renewed focus, he snapped his attention back to his master. The massive beast growled, demanding an explanation. But as it begrudgingly extended a giant furry paw, Kim the butler got straight to work grooming the creature. At first, the master complained, but Kim stayed stone-cold, unfazed until a weird order dropped harder. Meanwhile, over in a hidden orc village, a warrior honed his blade, prepping for war, when an elder rushed into the chieftain's hut, breaking the tension. Lord Jagra the chieftain looked heavy with worry. The elder didn't waste time dropping the bombshell news immediately. The phoenix's energy completely vanished. Jagra tried to play it cool, but the elder was terrified this was a permanent extinction event. He warned that the monster definitely sensed the shift, which meant one thing: they had zero time to prep a defense. To make matters worse, another orc reported that their hunter Riley was MIA. Pure dread washed over the chieftain and elder. The whole village spiraled into panic mode, staring at the ominous mountain looming above. Jagra felt in his gut that the monster was already hunting. Desperate, he screamed the missing hunter's name into the wind. Miles away, dust kicked up where the Beastmaster stood over his latest victim. Meanwhile, the butler was staring down the massive, statue-still beast. He grilled Squeaky the mouse for being unhelpful, but the tiny rodent clapped back, insisting on keeping his promises first. The butler literally begged, calling the mouse Lord Cerberus. But the whining just annoyed the creature until the mouse jumped up and slapped him across the face. While they argued, something stalked them through the tall grass. A hooded figure silently stepped into the frame. The green-skinned assassin unsheathed a wicked sharp dagger. At the same time, the beast roared, trembling at the sheer aura of their master. Squeaky yelled out that the butler had no clue what real fear looked like. The butler started apologizing, totally clueless about the threat breathing down his neck. Squeaky's eyes went wide with terror, screaming a last-second warning. Swish a blade, cut the air, missing the butler by an inch. The hooded attacker stood there, wrapped in a weird aura before glitching out of existence. While they looked around, confused, the assassin spawned right next to the beast's head. Moving like a blur, the assassin struck. The blade swung in a deadly arc, but hit absolutely nothing but air. The assassin stood there baffled, scanning the trees. High above, the beast floated away in a tiny, fluffy form before touching down. The attacker was stunned by the miss right before a hand shot out from the bushes. It snatched the fleeing orc by the ankle. A monstrous lion towered over them, growling a low, "Found you." The suit-wearing man flashed a terrifying predator smile. The captured orc started begging for her life, her scream ripping through the silent forest. Cut to the orc waking up upside down and totally disoriented, but the man just smiled, speaking surprisingly gently. He claimed they were just lost travelers looking for a village. The orc flashed back to a vision of her doom. Now walking at sunset, the man addressed her by name, Riley. He asked if she was scared of the beast. Riley admitted she was terrified. So why attack? They paused, and Riley spilled the tea. It was a rite of passage. She had to prove her worth. The man was floored by her recklessness. All this danger just to get a father's approval. Riley felt like a total failure. But the man hyped her up, validating her inner strength. Her only mistake, picking a fight with a god-tier opponent. He told her to trust her own power and praised her skills, calling her a champion monster. That weird title confused both of them as a fortified village finally appeared on the horizon. Riley guided them to the outpost. A female orc rushed out, shouting her name, equal parts relieved and panicked. Riley waved to her mom, confused by the massive crowd gathering. Suddenly, a giant axe slammed down, blocking their path. The orc chieftain ordered a halt. Riley insisted they weren't enemies, but her dad was livid. He declared their presence an act of war. That's when the butler stepped up, offering to negotiate. They stood alone against the whole army, while Riley's mom yanked her back, frantic with worry, turning a reunion into a scolding session. Since diplomacy was failing hard, and the orcs were screaming for them to leave, the butler knew he had to act fast. He weighed 2 options: talk them down or crush them. His mind was made up instantly. The butler stepped forward and dropped the mic, revealing his master's true identity, Lord Kalinus, the first emperor. Submit or face the wrath. That's the ultimatum. But the orc elder just laughs it off, demanding receipts for this so-called ancient legend. Suddenly, a pint-sized hype man pops out from the beast's mane, flexing their recent W over the legendary phoenix. The elder's skepticism evaporates instantly at the monster's name. Meanwhile, Kalinus just flashes a cocky knowing smirk. Time to drop the mic. He conjures a swirling orb of pure phoenix fire, the sheer heat silencing the entire crowd. The command to kneel rings out. But this stubborn orc still isn't sold, straight up calling them sus. Big mistake. Kalinus manifests a massive fireball, and as Butler snaps into action, launching himself skyward. Snatching the inferno mid-air, he slams it down. The ground violently erupts. Magma-like fissures tear through the dirt as a massive shockwave blasts everyone backward, choking the village in a cloud of debris. The chieftain tries to mean mug through the smoke, but that defiance melts into pure horror as a nightmare shadow looms over him. Shaking uncontrollably, his spirit breaks. The leader collapses to his knees in total submission. Domino effect, the whole tribe drops, finally acknowledging Kalinus as the legitimate Lord of Darkness. Ding, a system notification pops up confirming their absolute loyalty. Naturally, the butler fishes for a little praise for his hard work. Night falls as they officially secure the orc village. Kalinus checks his quest log, but the vibes here are rancid. A powerful urge to bail hits him immediately. The defenses are a joke, and honestly, the whole outpost is too trashy for Lord Kalinus's refined tastes. The butler steps in, insisting the master get some rest, and promising the accommodations are handled before rushing off to double-check. Cut to a shabby hut. Inside, a young, fiery voice is hyping up her newfound power. It's Riley. She's warning her dad the village is doomed, but he just sighs, sick of her dancing around the real problem. She doesn't back down, demanding to hit the front lines, until her dad throws a hand up to cut her off, shutting her down completely. He turns his back, quoting the archaic law, "Women cannot be warriors." Outside, the butler's lurking in the shadows, listening to every word as Riley pleads for a chance. Later, the chief sits alone, stressing out until a noise snaps him out of his funk. It's the butler asking about the lodging situation. The chief invites him to take a look. He apologizes for the earlier hostility, but the butler just offers a smooth smile, saying it's water under the bridge. Then his face drops to serious mode. He needs the sit rep. The chief agrees to spill the tea while they walk. Turns out that Phoenix was the apex predator, keeping other monsters away. When Kalinus killed it, the village's safety net disintegrated. It clicks for the butler. His master's hunt accidentally threw the whole ecosystem into chaos. The new threat, a colossal serpent, one they failed to squash when it was just a baby. Now it's hunting them, and the chief predicts a dawn raid. The butler immediately offers to intervene. He frames it perfectly. Does a lord protect his subjects? Then he praises the chief's leadership for putting the tribe first. He promises to brief the master, leaving the chief looking at him with desperate hope. The butler knows he's got them hooked. Grateful, the chief signals a female orc to assist. She shows him the suite, an outdoor space. The butler is absolutely floored. His stomach drops as they unveil the masterpiece, a raggedy tent with some bearskins on the dirt. Panic sets in. Lord Kalinus does not do camping. He needs a proper building. Saved by the HUD, a system window pops up suggesting an outpost upgrade. The tutorial is hand-holding him again. He politely thanks the orc. He asks to make a few tweaks. She agrees, and he immediately selects the living quarters on his interface. The Customize tab catches his eye. He remembers he's stacked up points from keeping his master happy. Time to cash in. He knows exactly how to construct the ultimate crib. Tasked with architectural duty, he sketches out a sleek multi-level tower on the holographic screen. One tap, and it's showtime. Power surges from his hand, the ground glowing neon as his points drain. A pillar of pure energy shoots into the sky, materializing into a bizarre tiered stone fortress. The orc's jaw hits the floor. She calls it a miracle. Right on cue, Kalinus strolls up, raising an eyebrow at his new digs. He gives it a critical scan before launching himself up the structure in a single gravity-defying leap. Perched on the highest spire, he surveys his new kingdom. He approves. The butler smugly informs the orcs that the master is pleased. With the boss's nod of approval, the relieved orc pledged eternal loyalty. Kalinus strutted into his new crib, a solid stone fortress. Inside, plush rug vibes. He yawned wide enough to swallow a sheep ready to crash, but the butler cut in fishing for intel. Big bad serpent arriving tomorrow, he warned. This was the golden ticket to locking down the orc's absolute trust. Kalinus, totally unbothered. He knew he was the apex predator here. Ding, a system alert popped, confirming the butler's success. Rewards flowed in, but Squeaky the mouse was losing it, trembling at the thought of another deathmatch. The butler asked for an assist, but Squeaky gave a hard nope. Unfazed, the butler smirked. He had an ace up his sleeve. Rest up, big guy. Back in the real world, our MC logged out mind, still racing from the chaotic session. What is going on with me? Then MEOW Lulu snapped him out of it, demanding attention like never before. He glanced at the feeding station. Papaju's bowl, full. The cat was still passed out cold, hasn't touched a crumb. Panic rising, he checked for fever. Temp was normal, but his gut screamed something was wrong. He nudged the sluggish furball. Papaju finally stirred, yawning big, but looking at the food like it was cardboard. He set the cat right in front of the bowl, finally munching noises. While they ate in silence, he pulled up specs on the next raid boss. Target acquired King Serpent, a high-level nightmare. The forums were flooded with players complaining about its tank-like defense. The meta: smash the scales, then roast it with fire. He grinned. Kalinus was gonna love tearing this thing apart. Now, to cheer up his real-life pet. Since Pipaju was acting emo, he pulled out the heavy artillery, the secret weapon. He called out, hyping it up. Paju just stared back with pure judgment-filled feline disgust. "Oh, you want to play hard to get," he went all out. The cat looked smug for a second then. Total freeze. Toy ignored. Our boy stood there, baffled. "Buddy, what is up with you today?" Suddenly, a voice echoed from the couch, his VR helmet. Next day, he logged back in. Enter Kim Butler. A pink blur tackled him, screaming his name. Big trouble, Kim Butler frowned. "Spit it out, what's wrong?" "The master, he's gone. Maybe he went for a stroll." "Nope." The creature had scoured every pixel of the map. Panic mode engaged, the serpent arrives today. But Kim Butler stayed cool. Time for a summons. Skill-activated treat crafting. Boom. A steaming bowl of ostrich stew materialized. He hit send on the notification. Uro. Red lights flashing. Signal unreachable. He froze brain buffering, then bolted out the door, screaming like a maniac. He tore through the empty village while the little pink guy watched, looking absolutely crushed. Miles away past the village lines, a dense forest hid a nightmare. The gaping maw of a dark cave. Deep in the void, glowing eyes snapped open. The ground shook as a colossal body scraped against the bedrock. The beast uncoiled, flowing toward the light like a river of scales. Back at base, the Orc Elder gasped, air hitching in his throat. Lord Jagras went pale, eyes wide. "It's moving, it's coming." But the Orc warrior, he just cracked a creepy smile. He could taste the energy in the air. The Elder stared at him. "Why are you grinning? Our lord is missing." "Don't you get it? The nightmare ends today." Thrilled, he marched them through the village streets. The Elder followed Doubt, nagging at him. They reached the Stone HQ, just as the Butler stumbled out looking wrecked. "He's away," the Butler admitted. The Orc froze. "Gone, now, in the middle of an apocalypse." "I can't track him," the Butler confessed. The warrior roared, getting in his face. "You hid this from us." The Butler held up a hand, silencing them. "Listen." His voice dropped. "I have to tell you the truth. The bombshell dropped. Kalinus wasn't just missing. He was trapped inside the monster's body. The summon failed. I couldn't pull him out." The warrior's expression turned to stone. "This just became a rescue mission." "Can you fight?" the Elder demanded. "Zero combat skills," the Butler admitted. "But I can turn this village into a fortress." The warrior caught a spark of hope. "Okay, I'll hold the front line at the outpost. And I'll buff the defenses here," the Butler countered. The warrior grabbed him. Promise me the village survives." The Butler hesitated. He couldn't lie, his mana wasn't infinite. The Orc chief's grip crushed tighter. Our boy stared him down. "Just do your job. Failure isn't an option." Ping. System alert, distrust level high. Of course nothing goes this smooth. His tiny sidekick tugged his sleeve. "What's the play, boss?" He checked his stats. 192 points. That's it. He knew the serpent hated fire. He scanned his minions. Cerberus, useless. The dog was shivering, terrified of its counter-element. Fire plan, scrap it. He locked in his decision, life or death, no turning back. He marched off with grim purpose just as a wooden post shattered nearby. He clocked a female orc going absolutely feral on a training dummy, striking with blinding speed until she was gasping for air. As the young fighter cooled down, he slid into view. Riley. She blinked, realizing it was the Butler. "Just a morning warm-up," she claimed. He pressed. "Why aren't you hunting the beast?" Her face fell. She was banned from combat. He knew that was cap. He grilled her on her skills, watching her get flustered and insist she just liked the workout. He smirked. "Yeah, right." He dropped the truth bomb. Her dad was overprotective. The words seemed to hit home. Then his face went dark. He dropped the act. The warriors didn't stand a chance. She shook her head, refusing to doubt her old man. "The chief is the main course," he warned. Pure terror hit her. She turned to bolt, ignoring his fake attempt to stop her. Then he played his ace. "I can give you power. Telekinesis. The only way to drop that monster." That stopped her cold. She spun around to listen. Meanwhile, sirens blared across the camp. The chief was rallying the troops. The squad rushed the forest while a shaman prepped a fire ritual. Suddenly, a massive scaled nightmare weaved through the trees. The serpent hit the path, crimson eyes glowing like embers, locking onto the warriors encircling the colossal beast. The chief hoisted his axe, screaming the kill order. With a savage roar, the boys charged in. The shaman buffed them with battle rage, and they swarmed. But one tail whip sent them flying like ragdolls. The leader stood his ground, axe glowing with mana, but realized their gear was trash against those scales. The serpent just watched cold. It tore through their lines. The shaman chanted a Hail Mary spell, powering up the chief for one heavy slam, and crack the scales gave way. The beast hissed in pain, spun around, and booked it into the woods. The squad chased it down to the river. The serpent chilled in the water, but it was prepping a nasty counter. Energy gathered in its jaw. A warrior went for the finisher, but the chief noticed the scales had hardened like steel. Green mist leaked out. "Fall back," he screamed, just as the monster unleashed a poison nuke. It was a setup. The toxin soaked right through their skin, locking their muscles instantly. The chief went numb, helpless, as the giant mouth opened wide for the final chomp. His men screamed run, but he was frozen solid. He barked one last order: save the tribe. Fangs buried into his arm. The beast hoisted him up and swallowed him whole, while the tribe watched in horror. They stood paralyzed, watching their leader get deleted. Suddenly, zoom, a streak of light tore the sky. Projectiles rained down like hail. An aerial blast shook the ground as a blur dashed through the tree line. A goblin girl in a full battle-maid outfit leaped into the fray, screaming for her dad. She slammed into the serpent's flank. She delivered a massive kick, desperate to free her father from the beast's jaws, screaming his name. Inside, the chief was getting crushed. Bones cracked as he was dragged deeper into the monster's gut. Gasping for air, he accepted his fate, eyes closing, until he heard it, Riley's voice. The snake recoiled, hit by an unseen force. Suddenly, expanding foam engulfed its head. The beast thrashed, spitting paralysis, venom turning those glowing optics onto the maid. Zero fear. She drew her daggers, ready to dance. Meanwhile, the butler sprinted to Lord Durgan. His tiny pet popped a skill, growing massive to grab the fallen orc lord. But even at that size, the creature was shaking in its boots. The butler called the retreat, loading Durgan onto the mount. Nearby orcs started waking up. The butler barked orders: evacuate, get to the safe zone. Stay out of this fight, he warned. The serpent lunged with insane speed, but the maid slipped the attack. She sprinted up its scaly spine, dagger raised for a crit. But the beast was too quick. She pushed her engine to the red line, but a tail whip blindsided her, launching her into the sky. She slammed back to earth with a heavy thud. Dazed, she admitted she couldn't match its pace. Elsewhere, a groan broke the silence. Lord Durgan finally came to. He grabbed the butler. Who was fighting that thing? The man in black hesitated. A distant crash echoed through the woods. He dropped the bomb. Your daughter. The chieftain's face twisted in rage. The butler tried to keep the injured leader down. He roared, furious that the monster dared endanger his child. Back on the field, the serpent's tail cornered Riley. The massive tail slammed down to crush her, detonating the ground in a cloud of dust and debris. Dust clears, and she's still standing, bloodied but unbowed, while that massive viper stares her down from across the clearing. Suddenly, Riley gets launched, sent flying by the sheer impact, digging her heels and daggers into the dirt just to hit the brakes. Her dad is losing it, screaming her name in pure panic. But the butler stays ice cold, assuring him she's actually holding her own. And Riley, she dives right back in, blades out, vaulting onto the beast's coils, unleashing a war cry as she preps a strike, metal clashing hard against those armor-plated scales. This sight makes the chieftain pause and ask, why is she fighting in a maid dress? The butler explains, it's the standard uniform for Kay Linus's crew, that she signed up to grind for power so she could defend the tribe. The father drops the only question that counts. Can she actually win? The butler admits the odds are trash, but he believes she's got this. Riley spins like a whirlwind, daggers acting like a buzzsaw. Landing a clean hit on its tail, sparks flying off the hardened hide. She's spamming attacks now, zero hesitation, making the giant snake roar in annoyance. It whips its tail, swatting her away, but she's already downloaded its attack pattern, driving her steel into its skin again as the battle shakes the whole valley. The orcs are watching, skeptical of her tactics, realizing the serpent is heavily guarding its head. Riley is getting impatient, adrenaline spiking by the second. Eyes locked on the prize, waiting for that one opening. But the snake coils up, baiting her in, leading her on a wild goose chase. The orc leader spots the fake out, immediately screaming, it's a trap. A voice in her head tells her to shatter the scales with everything she's got, and suddenly, Riley's eyes go supernova with raw energy. As she stomps down, charging up, she launches herself high above the poison cloud dagger, glowing with a menacing red aura, and plunges the powered-up blade straight into the beast, while the crowd watches in stunned silence. Riley lets out a feral roar, her flaming fist connecting with a deafening boom, driving the impact down with god-tier force. The serpent's skull smashes into the dirt, a brutal finish that stops the monster cold. The red glow fades, and Riley collapses, body screaming in pain next to the lifeless giant, its eye socket smoking. Up on the hill, the orc scouts witness the aftermath. The boss monster is finally down. The scouts erupt, cheering and charging in, as the village starts celebrating their new MVP. But the orc chieftain watches it all, face looking grim. The suit-wearing man questions the chief's doubt, mentioning he spotted Riley's rare potential ages ago. And the chief reveals his daughter always fantasized about being a warrior. The suit guy smirks, asking, "So, what's the move now?" Her dad stays quiet, deep in thought, while the crowd starts chanting for their champion, hoisting Riley up, screaming her name. From the sidelines, the man in the suit watches, trying to get Riley's attention, but the chieftain grabs him, demanding to know if his daughter is okay. Just as Riley runs to her dad, asking if he's all right, he shoves the man aside, eyes burning with a totally new vibe. The chief stands before the tribe, hyping up his daughter as their greatest warrior, apologizing for being so strict before pulling her into a bear hug. Her face lights up with the sudden, awesome realization that she's finally allowed to fight. He hesitates for a split second, lets out a heavy sigh, and finally agrees that a warrior belongs on the battlefield. She responds by crushing him in a massive, grateful squeeze. The butler watches this wholesome family moment cheekily, noting her crazy new strength, which earns him a silent, intense stare from the chief. The chief turns, admitting he was arrogant toward the butler. Apology accepted. The butler offers his own "my bad," and they fist bump, respect earned. As the whole tribe turns to thank him for saving their skins, a system notification pops up. Quest complete. He thinks about the service fees that made this win possible, feeling a huge wave of relief. But let's be real, this was just the tutorial. The actual grind starts now. He turns to address the bowing orc warriors, giving all the credit for the save to his master Kalinus. The orcs start whispering the name with serious reverence, which the butler uses to lead them in a victory cheer. But the orcs are totally confused by the weird word, so Kalinus takes a second to teach them the new chant. And soon, the whole tribe is roaring in perfect synchronization, praising their new lord as they march back to the village. It's a long trek through the dense woods, and he takes a moment to praise Squeaky for being brave in the fight. Though, the little mouse is quick to remind him, "I don't work for free," and Kalinus reveals he finally located the sugarcane field. But first, he explains he needs to interrogate the prisoners, because up ahead, Riley the maid is blocking his path. She needs to ask something major, completely obsessing over those strange flames that erupted from her sword. That surge of raw energy, the one that let her carve through the giant serpent's scales like butter. She'd never felt anything like it. He laid it out plain and simple. No miracles here, just her sleeping potential finally waking up. Her tribe didn't just wield fire, they were practically born from it. Her voice trembled as she asked the big question, did he genuinely believe she was the only one capable of pulling that off? The revelation hit her like a truck, that insane power was hers the whole time. And Kalinus, he just smirked, confirming he'd clocked her talent from day one. She started stumbling over an apology for doubting herself, but he cut her off with a scoff. He wasn't in the business of being a hero, and he made sure she knew it. That rough brand of encouragement sent a flush straight to her cheeks, a chaotic mix of total embarrassment and swelling pride. Eyes burning with new resolve, she sprinted ahead, ready to grind harder than ever. Kalinus just watched her disappear into the distance. A satisfied grin crept onto his face as a system window popped up, showcasing her skyrocketed stats. But the mood shifted the second he checked his own inventory. Insufficient RP. Damn it. His master was still too fragile, and he needed a workaround to boost her up fast. Then he struck gold. An equipable essence. It was a bargain bin item, but the buff it gave to fire damage, absolutely massive. He hesitated, picturing her sweating through that brutal training. Would handing her a cheat code like this cheapen all the blood and tears she'd spilled? It was a tough call, figuring out how to frame the gift without bruising her ego, but he decided to pull the trigger anyway. He just had to hope she'd get where he was coming from. Later on, the scene shifted to a secluded hut, where he started grilling an injured orc. The greenskin went silent, carefully chewing over every word Kalinus was feeding him. He started connecting the dots to the Nocton Kingdom, nearby a realm that was circling the drain. According to his explanation, that kingdom was desperate, hunting for some ancient power. And that's when it clicked for the butler. The target they were hunting was his master, Lord Kalinus himself. But their search radius was all wrong, until the orc dropped a mention of a mysterious altar, a potential summoning site. The butler briefly entertained the idea of scouting it out, but quickly pumped the brakes on that thought, especially when the orc warned him the place was basically a ghost, impossible to track. Intel secured, he finally stepped out of the hut. Ding, a system notification flashed, tutorial stage 3 cleared, and right on cue, a new main quest dropped into his log. Mission: find the summoner in Nocton. The mouse was jittery, terrified his master might bail, but the butler, he had zero doubts. Suddenly, a noise from above made them both jump. Perched calmly on a pillar, looking down like a king, was a massive cat-like beast. The butler glanced up, relief washing over him as he recognized his master. But that relief instantly morphed into rage as he started screaming at the guy. Kalinus didn't argue. He just responded with a vicious headbutt, launching the butler through the air like a rag doll. Then came the confused apology. Kalinus stood there blinking, claiming he had zero memory of being gone in the first place. Seizing the moment, the butler immediately demanded credit for holding down the fort, launching into his report. He bragged about taking down the great serpent, spinning a yarn that his genius strategy was the only reason they survived against the enemy. He painted a picture of impossible odds, and it worked. A system window popped up, confirming his master's satisfaction rate was climbing. The butler was buzzing. His hustle paid off perfectly, so he pushed his luck and asked for a budget increase. For future emergencies. Kalinius didn't even blink before agreeing. Soon enough, the sun rose on the quiet village. The orc maid was a mess of tears and heartfelt goodbyes, while the warriors took a knee, swearing eternal loyalty to Kalinius. The whole tribe turned out to see the squad off, but the butler paused, confused. Why was the maid still tagging along? She dropped her plan. She was heading to the capital to join a merc group. He just stood there, processing the intel for a beat. Then, she puffed out her chest and proudly declared herself a minion of Lord Kalinius. With that settled, the new party hit the long forest trail. Kalinius wasn't about the scenic route, though he suggested they find a shortcut to Nocton. That triggered the little pink mouse to hop right off his head in protest. It started arguing, demanding a detour to a sugarcane field first. Meanwhile, the butler was stressing over how to keep his master from getting bored. And that's when it happened. One of the minions tried to make a break for it, but the giant beast it served didn't flinch. The minion glanced back, totally confused by the lack of a chase. It looked into its master's eyes, cold, dead still, as he simply asked if the little guy was feeling sick or something. The butler tried to intervene, panic rising, while the master grumbled about the sheer disrespect. Another minion decided to talk trash, earning a dark compliment for its guts. It even summoned a fireball to back up the talk, but the master looked totally unimpressed, until he snapped. He lunged at the screaming creature, snatching the minion out of the air with zero effort and launching it sky high. While the maid looked on in despair, the butler cooked up a new plan instantly. He decided to go all in, summoning every single one of his minions at once, ripping open a dark portal that sucked the small creatures right inside a move that left the maid completely. The last minion was standing there, totally shook, dropping the hard truth they were effectively grounded until the big boss decided to budge. A jagged shadow shard spawned in his gloved grip, part of a risky strat to slash the master's weight and break his stubborn resistance. Without missing a beat, the butler started scaling the massive beast's spine, casually asking if he was cramping the giant's style. The master gave a hard yes to the discomfort, but the butler insisted it was non-negotiable, forcing the beast to grudgingly cave. He dropped the simple game plan: you walk, I steer. Finally, those colossal paws rumbled into motion. They set off at a deceptively chill pace that was actually covering ground at insane speeds. From a bird's-eye view, they were cruising down the trail until bam, the master went full feral, tearing through the timber like a living wrecking ball. He was sprinting in the totally wrong direction, and the butler only tracked him down after the dust settled on a catastrophic brawl. The master demanded a less headache-inducing way to travel, but the butler panicked, knowing any other method might glitch the master out of existence. That would mean losing him forever. Then a system pop-up saved the day, a brand new tutorial flashing a clutch solution right before his eyes. He triggered the master miniaturization feature, instantly wrapping the gargantuan beast in a blinding supernova of light. The light exploded into a thick smokescreen, and from the swirling gray haze, a tiny silhouette slowly took shape. The once terrifying apex predator had been nerfed into a harmless little kitty. His entire point of view shifted as the world became impossibly huge. The butler was absolutely stoked about this new pocket-sized configuration. He toyed with summoning a mount, but decided the VIP treatment was better, scooping up his master for a much comfier ride. Cut to the butler taking the reins of a sleek carriage, while the rest of the squad lounged inside in five-star luxury. The vibes were immaculate as they cruised across the countryside, the horses pulling them steadily toward the next checkpoint. Eventually, the butler hit the brakes, his tiny passengers inside still out cold and snoozing peacefully. Squeaky got the "we're here" alert and immediately yeeted himself out of the carriage, sprinting into the open field. Squeaky the mouse froze jaws on the floor. He'd stumbled into his personal heaven, an endless lush bamboo forest. The butler waved him off with a wholesome smile, even squeezing out a few fake crocodile tears to sell the dramatic goodbye. But Squeaky wasn't letting him ghost that easily, reminding the butler he still owed him a wifey promised in the contract. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the silence. A massive raptor dive-bombed from the clouds, locking onto a terrified female mouse below. The hawk snatched her up and banked toward the trees, but for Squeaky, it was instant hard eyes. Love at first sight. Channeling pure main character energy, he bolted in a heroic blur, leaving his stunned squad eating his dust. "Peace out," the goblin maid nodded. Meanwhile, the gray familiar suggested they take a beat to recharge. But the butler was way more focused on scoring some snacks, making the maid realize he wasn't tired, he was just hangry. He put in an order for meat, and as she prepped it, he triggered his specialized butler skill, treat crafting. Inspiration struck for that king serpent meat, visualizing a perfectly seared S-tier grilled masterpiece. The system UI popped up asking to save the recipe, but suddenly the gray familiar let out a loud, demanding yowl, a sound that hit the butler right in the feels. It was the exact specific meow his in-real-life cat Pikachu used to make when begging for dinner. He wished his old buddy could taste these legendary flavors, feeling a pang of FOMO, knowing they couldn't share that simple, wholesome joy. He meticulously prepped the fish, daydreaming of a chill life with his pet, while the scene cut to deep inside the bamboo forest. The giant bird swooped on its helpless prey, the tiny mouse scrambling in terror, but a third player entered the chat and saw the whole thing go down. He unleashed a blinding burst of pyro, a ring of fire screaming through the air straight at the predator. The bird juked the attack with a heavy wing flap, eyes narrowing as it switched aggro to this new challenger. The pink mouse scrambled to dodge the dive bomb talons inches away, when suddenly a flame barrier spawned around him. Just in time. The fiery shield engulfed the attacking bird, instantly roasting its feathers. Screeching in pain, the bird noped out of there fast. The pink mouse turned to his savior, a brown mouse, and thanked her for the clutch save. He asked for a damage report, but she insisted she was at 100%, just a little shook up. Suddenly, her legs gave out from the adrenaline crash, and he caught her in a gentle, supportive embrace. Meanwhile, deeper in the woods, a squad of armed mice was frantically calling for Tria, finally locating their missing sister deep in the bamboo thicket. She was safe, explaining how a kind stranger came in clutch. Her relieved sisters offered their deepest, most sincere thanks. But the hero played it cool, saying he was just looking out for his own. Tria, however, locked eyes with him. She shyly asked for his name, causing him to buffer in panic, a massive blush painting his face red. A whole different timeline flashes before his eyes, visions of a mama's warmth and gentle hugs. Growing up wild and free, falling in love, tying the knot, and riding out the heartbreak together. Finally having a squad to call his own. A life packed with real tears and joy. For a second he actually considers staying, becoming their shield, his heart hammering against his ribs with this insane new purpose. He puffs up like a boss, then drops the ultimate plot twist, screaming, "I am Cerberus, the loyal beast of the Avatar of Darkness." The mice are left absolutely shook, brains scrambling to process that rejection. Meanwhile, cut to a 5-star picnic vibe nearby, where the butler unveils a top-tier grilled eel platter, telling the crew to dig in with the boss. He goes full chef mode, demonstrating the perfect lettuce wrap technique and hitting it with the exact seasoning ratio. With a proud grin, he serves up the first bite to Kalinus, showing him how a pro eats. And the lunch is a total W. The green-skinned maid is practically radiating happiness. He tells her to save the thanks for their master Lord Kalinus. But then, the butler clocks his master's face. Kalinus looks stone-cold dead inside. But the butler clarifies, that's not boredom, that's pure culinary nirvana. On the inside, Kalinus is having a total flavor meltdown. A success so big, the butler just mentally hiked his service fee. Suddenly, rustling noises explode from the woods, and out pops Squeaky the pink rat. He marches up to the squad with serious intent. The butler asks why he's flying solo. Squeaky drops the mic. He chooses loyalty to Lord Kalinus. Serving the Avatar of Darkness is his destiny. But the butler shuts it down. He can't roll with them because the road ahead is way too savage for a little guy. But Squeaky insists he's got a fix for that. He just needs to level up. That's it. He refuses to get left in the dust, hitting the butler with a respectful new title. Suddenly, a swarm of rats bursts from the tree line, sprinting across the field in pure panic. Screaming for help, claiming they're being hunted down. He flushed red, totally caught off guard as the mousefolk begged him to save them from the Sky Terror Eagles. That desperate plea triggered a memory, his own hunt for the secret tunnels, and suddenly a 4D chess move clicked in his brain. He proposed a trade, lead him underground, and he'd handle the aerial threat. The deal: slay the birds, get the guide. Meanwhile, death hovered overhead. Vicious predators patrolled the azure void until one massive eagle locked onto fresh meat below. Panic erupted. The tiny creatures scrambled across the plains as the entire feather-clad death squad nosedived, wings tucked, silent velocity. The open field transformed into a slaughterhouse in seconds. But Riley was ready, daggers flashing, while Cerberus unleashed a roar that shook the very air. Steel met beak in a brutal collision. Riley turned into a blur, slicing clean through the lead attacker. XP gained. She became a whirlwind of destruction, dropping another foe, while Cerberus spitted a torrent of pure fire. Crispy bird. The predator was incinerated mid-flight, leaving the field littered with carcasses. Double level up for the squad. Dust settling, a local mouse crept toward the triumphant Cerberus, eyes wide with awe. Mission complete. Another tiny observer peeked over the ledge, watching the aftermath unfold. The maid clocked the pink hero as Lord Cerberus immediately, while the village locals kept a nervous distance. Then plot twist. A villager begged Cerberus to stay. Our pink boy turned beet red, heart racing as the stranger confessed instant love. The butler and maid just stood there watching the drama unfold like it was Netflix primetime. But Cerberus, he's a lone wolf. He offered a dramatic cinematic farewell that drifted away on the breeze. Main character energy. Until the butler cut the scene asking about the summoning altar. Suddenly, the romance crumbled into a massive misunderstanding. Awkward silence cleared faster than the clouds overhead. Led to a gloomy cave mouth, the duo waved goodbye. Then the butler's gaze shifted down to Cerberus. The pink guy had made up his mind. It was time for real talk. The butler broke down Cerberus's original purpose. You were just bait. That stung. Cerberus asked the hard question, is that all I am? Panic set in. Was he being discarded? The maid stepped up, pleading for the little guy to get a fair shot. The butler countered he wasn't forcing anyone to face their nightmares. He thought he was granting freedom, but if he wanted to stay, he had to get strong. Insanely strong. Challenge accepted without hesitation. Cue the training montage. The butler didn't sugarcoat it. Hell Week was starting for his two students. He barked orders like a drill sergeant, demanding a response. But our pink mouse, he decided to sass back. Bad move. The butler shut that insubordination down, instantly making Cerberus rethink his bottom-tier status. Harsh truths followed. He praised Riley as the gold standard, leaving Cerberus in the dust. One strike and you're out. The threat of expulsion sent Cerberus into a spiral, remembering every sacrifice he'd made. He snapped back to reality, apologizing profusely. The butler re-established absolute military command. Riley took it like a pro, absolute perfection. Cerberus could only grumble at her annoying flawlessness. 3 goals, 3 targets. The butler made it clear, perform well, or the methods get worse. Sir. Yes, sir, Cerberus shouted. First up, a simple game of tag, with high stakes. The mission, wake up the shrunken lord's predatory instincts. The butler needed to see what Cerberus was made of. Runners on your marks. A sudden surge of adrenaline hit Cerberus. He was ready to run. Go Cerberus ignited into a fireball. Strategy. Be the flashiest, fastest prey alive. The shrunken lord snapped. The star-marked cat launched, closing the distance at god-tier speed. Bam, paw down. Target pinned. The mock hunt ended in a blink. The butler stepped in to explain. It's a treat for the master. Other creatures played dead, selling the performance. He coached the terrified bait to sell the death scene. The victorious cat got his snack. The cat snatched the leafy treat happily. Hunt successful, and the butler pocketed a fat commission. But the nightmare wasn't over. Not even close. Next up, courage training. Cerberus, shaking like a leaf, saluted. Then, boom, the cat transformed. It morphed into a colossal monstrosity. A gigantic paw smashed down, missing Cerberus by an inch, but shattering the bedrock. The butler checked in, laughing maniacally. Holding up, I haven't even started yet. Pure terror flashed red in the beast's eyes as Cerberus glared down, looking like a straight-up demon from the underworld. Then boom. The monster hoisted its massive paw and slammed it down with enough force to delete anything in its radius. The earth literally split open under the impact. He didn't stop there, just kept spamming attacks, totally ruthless. Somehow the creature tanked the hits even as the terrain got absolutely wrecked. That's when the tiny fire mouse blazed up, refusing to quit. A quick flashback hit of getting flattened like a pancake, then snapped back to reality. Riley announced it was time to level up their teamwork. The maid wasn't vibing with the idea of using Cerberus as live bait, but Riley broke it down. Their master might dodge a massive opponent. The mouse tried to clap back, mentioning they already fought a giant phoenix. But Riley shut that down. She warned them about the absolute units waiting ahead. Guardians are always huge and overpowered. The maid finally got on board. The strat. Distract the boss and bait him into punching a giant boulder. Physics 101, the hungrier he is for the target, the harder he hits. Cerberus swore to be the ultimate troll, so the squad scattered, taking their spots on the field. The maid prepped to yeet the bait sky high while the fire mouse lit up, becoming a spicy second distraction. Green light given. The training session officially kicked off. As she chucked Cerberus right as the master went on the offensive, our boy let out a roar, chasing the beast with a fistful of flames. The maid braced for impact, tanking a massive fireball meant for the dog, just as Cerberus slammed into her like a freight train. But the little guy stuck the landing and kept sprinting while Cerberus barked out orders, trying to steer this chaotic chase. The field turned into a blur of fire and motion. The master was relentless, hunting down his desperate crew, lunging forward and snatching the flaming mouse right out of the air like a pro. Meanwhile, the butler summoned his own beast, Cerberus, but he switched it up today, picking a tiny mouse instead, which instantly morphed into a magnificent fiery monster. The two beasts squared up across the field. He narrowed his eyes, locked in, and pressed start, triggering some mysterious process. A ritual at the weathered altar turned the fire mouse into a chill pink critter, while Cerberus hulked out into a raging powerhouse. Later, the butler climbed a long stone staircase, hauling his master with Riley close behind. They reached a massive, circular ruin, and he immediately started scanning the area. The tame mouse trailed him as Riley asked what the deal was. He explained he needed the key to unlock the altar, figuring the master himself was the trigger. He told Riley to pass him over, then held the tiny creature up to the sky, like a scene from The Lion King. Zero reaction. Total fail. The mouse looked at the butler like he had finally lost his marbles. Squeaky swore undying loyalty right then and there. a sudden vibe shift that left the butler totally shook. As Squeaky suggested, maybe, just maybe, reverting the master to his true form. The butler realized the answer was painfully obvious and had been right in front of him. Suddenly, the great wolf materialized on the ancient altar. The runes on the pillars flared up with ghostly light, ripping open a massive crackling portal, right in thin air. That altar was finally reacting to his insanely high power level. His aura was so massive his tiny form couldn't even contain it before. Raw energy swirled. Inside the gate's vortex, the light ramping up to a blinding intensity. The great wolf just stared down the dimensional door he just cracked open. From the shimmering abyss, a single polished shoe stepped through, followed by an old man, whose vibe was completely off, steeped in corruption. He was dressed like a perfect butler, but radiated pure dark energy. Our boy instantly clocked the infection. The great wolf recognized this man immediately. It was his old servant Fenrir. A glitchy memory flashed by a masked king from a forgotten era. Riley wound up to attack, but he stopped her cold. They watched the old butler slam his sword into the stone floor and drop to one knee in a sign of absolute respect, greeting the great wolf as his long-lost master. His lord acknowledged the 1,000-year watch he'd kept. Fenrir tried to remember his duty, but his mind was broken, like something deep inside was resisting his will. A brutal internal struggle that our boy and Riley watched in horror. Suddenly, the infection spiked, twisting his face in pure agony, his eyes going pitch black as the corruption took full control, and he let out a terrifying roar. Bones snapped and flesh rippled as the prisoner morphed into something hideous, fighting the energy tearing him apart. This corruption was eating him alive. He was a walking vault of secrets they desperately needed, but his life force was tanking fast. It was a race against the Reaper. Meanwhile, miles away, a high-tier entity dropped from the heavens like a meteor, cornering an elder about the Serentium raid. The old man cracked, revealing a nightmare from the past, an ancient nemesis back on the board. He whispered a name that felt like a curse, Morbius. The chaos started. He confessed with a royal hit job, a prince assassinated. Morbius pulled the strings, lighting the fuse for total global warfare. Their defenses crumbled under a blitz from strange entities known as players. The masked man froze. He'd never heard that term before. It was totally alien to him. These were invaders from another dimension, flooding through a mystic rift like a plague. Hundreds of thousands strong, pushing the ancestors to the brink and forcing a risky last-ditch gambit. See, Morbius tried to hijack their master's power mid-awakening. Two factions collided in a brutal showdown over the sacred ritual. In that mayhem, the master's consciousness got ripped apart, caught in the crossfire. Just as a stray cat wandered into the kill zone, the master's god-tier energy, desperate for a home, latched onto the kitty. Boom, the furball mutated into a colossal, terrifying beast. Unable to speak, the followers panicked. But to keep their transformed master safe, they let the monster run. It eventually hid out in a ruined Gothic castle. Generations later, his descendants triggered an emergency warp, blasting him into the most random spot possible, the player's home world, where they found Kim, a legendary butler with a soft spot for strays. He explained how they teleported the master straight to his doorstep. Hearing the lore drop, the masked butler finally connected the dots, asking if marching to Naughton was basically suicide. But the beast unveiled a secret route, leading to hidden altars. The butler realized they'd just dodged a catastrophic game-ending mistake. Suddenly, the beast's eyes flared with demonic light. Dark energy erupted outward like a shockwave. As it barked a single guttural command, run. A massive paw slammed into the earth, cracking the ground. They scrambled back as the creature swole up, expanding until it loomed over them, a towering silhouette of pure, unbridled rage. High above, a winged demon saw the madness and noped out of there, while the master, now a gigantified wolf, snarled with savage fury. He let out a roar that shook the server, shattering the air itself. The butler and his squad dove for cover to avoid the concussion. He spun around, charging a desperate counterspell as his dark energy collided with the wolf's paw, which was charging a sphere of crackling doom. Suddenly, a beam of pure annihilation fired from its jaws, carving a massive crater into a faraway mountain. He watched, stunned, wondering if the master was gone for good. This power level, it was off the charts, stronger than anything he'd ever fought. Peeking from cover, he tracked the raging beast as the wolf let out another bone-chilling howl, its aura completely feral. Fenrir was clearly in agony fighting the corruption inside, when a gray beast roared out, screaming the butler's name. It yelled again, a dark sigil flashing nearby. Riley stepped out, declaring a code red. He instantly shrank the gray beast down to pocket size, realizing Fenrir was on a world-ending rampage. The tiny creature had a planned head-on collision. Eyes locked on the prize, Riley walked toward the white wolf, bracing against the crushing spiritual pressure. Suddenly, a massive stone pillar went airborne, hurtling at him only to smash against an invisible barrier. The beast growled, thanking Riley for the save. Clutching the mini creature, he faced Fenrir. The giant wolf stared down, seemingly recognizing its other half, while a storm of dark energy swirled in its chest. Riley froze. He knew exactly what was coming. Elsewhere, a monocled old man gasped, kneeling beside a knocked-out masked warrior. The fighter rasped, asking if there was a cure for the corruption. The old man shook his head. It was too late. Silence fell. Heavy grief crushed the warrior as the dying man begged for the end. The warrior promised to help, whispering for him to hold on just a second longer. Snap back to the present. Riley hoists the little guy up like Simba, staring down the rage-fueled nightmare beast in front of them. You guys ready to rock? He braces himself, locking eyes with the corrupted wolf. Fenrir ready to end this. The maid and Cerberus are locked and loaded, muscles coiled. The strat is simple. One clean, lethal headshot to close the show. No hesitation. He triggers his minion management skill, dumping all his stored XP to power level Squeaky in a split second. Positions people. With a primal roar, he gives the green light. It is go time. The feline speedster blurs forward, moving so fast the maid has to squint just to track the action. Her pulse hammers as the squad scatters, hitting from every angle. Above the chaos, Riley goes airborne, radiating pure energy like a supernova. While Riley charges up, the butler snags a fireball of a creature Cerberus right out of the air with his bare hands. The energized kitty parkours off his shoulder back, igniting into an inferno as he blitzes the target. He winds up launching the flaming Cerberus like a ballistic missile. Behold, the legendary fire rat shot. The living fireball shrieks through the sky, locking onto the behemoth with heat-seeking precision. Boom, direct hit to Fenrir's glowing optic. The butler smirks. He knows the combo isn't done yet. Riley drops from the heavens like a meteor, smashing Fenrir's skull. Mid-strike, he hulks out, growing to kaiju proportions. Chomp. Riley clamps down hard. The maid screams in hype as the perfect raid executes, leaving Riley standing tall over the defeated wolf god. Victory notifications spam his vision, but the butler's smile is tight. It is a win, but the vibes are heavy. A spectral gray wolf nuzzles the lifeless body of a white wolf, holding a silent, heartbreaking vigil atop the altar. He nudges his fallen friend, desperate for a reaction. It is a gut punch of a memory, an old spirit fading into the void. Then poof. He dissolves into a swirling vortex of light, the white wolf's body scattering like stardust. The maid rushes over. Master, you good? Fenrir admits he is wrecked physically and emotionally. He needs a minute to reboot. The butler freezes. How do you comfort a grieving NPC boss? There is no dialogue option for this level of angst. Suddenly, Fenrir spins around and sticks his rear end right in the butler's face. Wait, what is happening? The gears turn. Oh, he wants pats. Weirdly enough, that might be the only therapy that works right now. Talk about tonal whiplash. But hey, you only live once. He raises his hands, feeling totally ridiculous. Pat, pat, pat. He finds a rhythm on the giant wolf's flank. Just doing what you asked, boss. Unhand me, Fenrir barks. The butler pauses, hands hovering. Mixed signals much. Nah, that is just tsundere speak. The guy needs love. He doubles down, ignoring the wolf's loud complaints. It is a bonding moment, literally. Fenrir howls, mourning the absolute death of his dignity. Off to the side, Cerberus whispers to the maid, Yo, give me the science. Why do cats dig that so much? The butler is sweating bullets. Comforting a giant screaming wolf god is way above his pay grade. The squad rolls up, offering to tag in on pat duty. Back off, he waves them away. Let the old man rest. Cerberus admits if it was not for the butler's weirdness, he would have bolted. Then something shiny catches his eye in the rubble. A mysterious azure glow pulsing from a debris pile. Feeling brave, the fire pup trots over to check the loot. As Cerberus sniffs out the glow, the butler is still back there, rhythmically comforting the wolf god. He thinks back to the doom and gloom, but Fenrir interrupts. Keep going. The touch is pulling me out of the void. Thanks, kid. Peace finally hits him. The butler grins, anytime, while his arm practically falls off from the workout. He tries to sneak a break, but Fenrir catches him. Did I say stop? Keep going. Okay, compromise the butler counters. Get small. And just like that, he resumes duty. Much better. He scratches the now pocket-sized wolf's ears, diving into some lore about the game's rigged alignment system. Players get forced into the light faction. Always hated that railroading. Fenrir nods. I'm not judging, just listening. Then the butler drops a truth bomb. The chaos creatures. They started this whole war. He drops the name Morbius, and Fenrir snaps. The wolf growls, swearing bloody vengeance on everyone involved. Suddenly, a noise cuts the tension. Scritch, scratch. A tiny hamster is fighting for its life under a boulder. Squeak. The little fluff ball pushes against the heavy debris, totally stuck. Fenrir's ears twitch. His eyes go dark, hunter mode activated. He locks onto the snack-sized target. Nope. The butler swoops in, snatching the hamster up before Fenrir can turn it into a chew toy. Crisis averted. A massive hunk of steel hit the floor with a thud. The butler spun around, alerted by the commotion, as the orc maid dragged in their insane new loot. His jaw practically hit the floor. He clocked that blade instantly. It was Bearheart, the legendary greatsword once wielded by the former head butler. A god-tier weapon with zero owner, just waiting for a new hand to claim it. He didn't even hesitate. The second his fingers brushed the hilt, raw energy surged through his veins and the system interface lit up like a Christmas tree screaming at him to equip it. This was huge. His weapon slot had been grayed out and locked forever, but suddenly the chains shattered. For the very first time, the slot unlocked, flashing the sword's insane stats right before his eyes. A true Butler exclusive, chaotic artifact. He gave it a swing, testing the weight. It was balanced to perfection. No more standing on the sidelines, he was finally ready to throw hands. His squad watched in awe as he moved with scary precision. But there was no time to waste. Their epic road trip kicked off under a sprawling, endless sky, the luxury carriage tearing through the wild terrain, while Fenrir turned to the Butler, demanding their next 200 IQ play. The Butler laid it out. They needed to hunt down 2 secret altars, but step 1 was hitting the capital city for some serious intel gathering. Suddenly, Fenrir's ears twitched, sparking with electric excitement, and he dropped a bombshell he could move again. Testing the limits of his strange new vessel, he realized he regained control of his tongue. Small win, huge impact. Kim Butler caught major props for grinding so hard to help him recover, sparking hope that the master would be back to full HP in no time. The carriage rattled on through the boonies, but Kim Butler suddenly slammed on the brakes, bringing the whole operation to a screeching halt. Because he spotted it, the glowing entrance to an instance dungeon. He was dying to test his new buffs in a real brawl, and even though the crew was stressing about the risks, he insisted on running this raid solo. He had something to prove. Stepping through the shimmering rift, he entered a C-rank dungeon, a total nostalgia trip from his hardcore gaming days. He gripped the hilt until his knuckles turned white, knowing his armor was trash tier. But clearing this meant leveling up enough to protect his master. It was time to push his limits to the breaking point. The dirt floor cracked open, birthing skeletal warriors. An undead swarm flooded toward him, radiating pure, silent malice. So he decided to tank the first hit, bracing himself for the inevitable impact. He swatted the clumsy strike aside like it was nothing, then shattered the skeleton into dust with one savage counter, before diving straight into the mosh pit. He became a blur of steel, deflecting attacks from every angle, and let out a roar that shook the cavern, feeling a physical strength he'd never possessed before. With one clean cinematic arc, he decapitated the entire front line in a split second. A smirk crept onto his face, the rush of the new weapon triggering a memory of a younger, desperate Kim Butler. Standing panting amidst a sea of bone shards, the endless grind was starting to drain his stamina. But deep in the cave, a terrifying rhythm started echoing off the walls. An entire legion of the undead was marching his way. No more holding back. It was time to drop his trump card. The skeletal army screamed and charged, and he triggered his sword's ultimate, the Fidelis Strike. A glowing tactical grid locked onto every single enemy, trapping the skeletons in a shimmering kill box. With one word, he pulled the trigger on the stored energy. Boom. A blinding white explosion swallowed the cavern whole. When the smoke cleared, there was nothing left but dust, and a system ping confirmed the massive XP drop. The skill drained his mana like crazy, but the payoff was totally worth it. A small familiar materialized as his master's voice echoed in his head, explaining that the sword Bearheart syncs directly with his authority. The master promised him godlike power if he stayed loyal. The little creature asked if the dungeon was clear, but the exit portal wasn't spawning, which meant only one thing: boss fight. 2 glowing purple eyes flared up in the pitch-black shadows, and his master screamed a frantic warning just as a B-rank skeleton general spawned right in front of his face. Its massive blade pulsed with terrifying dark magic. A B-rank boss in a C-rank dungeon. This was a setup. He stumbled back, realizing he was in way over his head. The skeleton's giant sword came crashing down with earth-shattering force, and he combat rolled away just milliseconds before getting flattened. As the undead knight raised its blade for the execution, out of options, he screamed for his master to save him. The response was instant. A shockwave of raw power exploded outward, as his tiny companion morphed into a colossal nightmare beast. The skeleton general slowly turned to face the new challenger, and the beast just stared down the enemy, looking completely bored. A titanic paw blocked out the sun, hovering for a split second, before slamming down with earth-shattering force. Boom! A system interface popped up, flashing a one-hit kill notification. But instead of praise, the master instantly started roasting his servant for being too soft. The guy clapped back, arguing that the master was just broken-level OP. He explained that, sure, B-rank bosses might glitch into low-level dungeons, but high-risk monsters meant legendary loot drops. He was busy hyping up his insane haul when crack. A new light surged with chaotic energy. A golden dimensional rift ripped open right in front of them. Jackpot. A golden goblin gate. Recognizing the ultra-rare event, he immediately geared up to summon his mob for the next brawl. Secure the bag at all costs. As if on cue, a golden goblin exploded from the portal, trailing a literal fountain of coins. He lunged with surgical precision blade ready, while Riley, his mouse minion, unleashed a roaring flamethrower. Cut to another scene, a behemoth beast cornered a tiny, trembling blue slime. The little guy shook like a leaf, under that murderous gaze as the beast raised a paw heavy enough to crush a tank. Twist the slime instantly hardened into razor-sharp spikes before liquefying into nothingness. All that remained, a single, glowing crystal. The beast swallowed the gem whole. Flash. A memory slammed into its mind, a white cat and another slime hanging out. The beast locked onto the crystal's mysterious origin. Back at the fight, the golden goblin was sprinting for its life, and a man in a sharp suit joined the high-speed chase, his blade flashing as he carved through the trail of scattered gold. Closing the gap in a blur, he yelled out as his sword sliced clean through the goblin's treasure sack. An impact that launched the creature airborne. Wham! But the little guy tucked and rolled, recovering instantly to keep dashing at max speed. The goblin ripped open a rift in reality. The suited man prepped a specialized capture device, do or die, but the goblin dove through the portal at the buzzer. A capture failed alert popped. He stood there, absolutely shook by that impossible, glitch-like speed. His maid dropped the hard truth that was a rare bonus monster programmed to escape. Catching it is basically RNG hell. He swore he'd bag it next time. For now, it was loot time. Suddenly, the great beast summoned him with 2 words. Kim, Butler. A glowing crystal lay on the ground. A shard of emotion. The butler knelt to inspect the pulsating artifact, and boom, a memory. Hit him with the force of a freight train. You saw it too, the master asked. The butler nodded, describing a feline predator toying with a slime. They'd witnessed the exact same clip, but the master felt something deeper, a ghostly echo of a past life. He could sense other fragments screaming out to be found. His squad warned this was a massive detour from the main quest, but the master shut it down. They had to investigate this overwhelming vibe. The team scooped up the remaining loot, locking and loading for the road ahead. Darkness swallowed the land as their carriage wound through treacherous mountain passes. Pulled by 4 nightmare-fuel shadow beasts, the butler took the reins, while his master, now in pint-sized cat form, navigated. Too slow, the master decided despawning the luxury carriage via the system interface to summon a single horse for a speed run. They hit a dense ancient forest. Screech, a flock of harpies erupted from the canopy. The butler started free-soloing a vertical vine cliff to grab the next shard. A harpy dive-bombed him, but the master intercepted mid-air with a lethal claw swipe, landing smoothly among the fallen enemies. Shard secured. Flash. Another memory, a white beast hunting a harpy. But the master sensed a third player in the scene. He knew that beast. Cut to a desolate, wind-blasted tundra. He cracked the ice of a frozen lake and fished out another emotional fragment. Kneeling in the biting snow, he analyzed the glowing gem. This one showed a tiny white cat. Was it some kind of pocket-sized apex predator? That meant the owner's emotions were tethered to these creatures. The scenery snapped to a sun-drenched canyon, where the next shard guided them forward. Another memory surfaced, the cat. And a butler. He sat there, letting it sink in, finally decoding the feeling he'd been chasing. It was the fierce protective instinct of a guardian. His ear twitched, radar locked on a faint sound, the owner's voice. They were close. He prepped to ride out one last time. Suddenly, the scene glitched to a futuristic, high-tech metropolis, where automated drones buzzed between towering neon skyscrapers. The camera zooms in on a nondescript apartment block, cutting to a sleek kitchen, where a man moves with military precision. An earpiece crackles with an all-clear signal, prompting him to slip silently through a side door. He moves like a ghost. In the room, a woman lies motionless, hooked up to a massive rig that hums with low-frequency energy. She is not sleeping. She is deep-diving her consciousness, fully uploaded to a digital reality, while her body remains frozen. His gaze is heavy as he watches over her shell, while inside the simulation she is wandering a tranquil, endless meadow. Transition to the game world, the butler materializes in that same vast grassland and dismisses his mount. The horse thunders off toward the horizon as his master pinpoints their target, noting the shard owner is literally 5 steps away, but a massive, invisible force field blocks their path. The butler presses a hand against the air, causing the empty space to ripple like water. The camouflage drops. He realizes they are not dealing with an amateur. This opponent is a high-level master of spatial magic. Suspecting a chaos devourer might be lurking, he instantly pulls up the global auction house interface. It is time to pay to win. He sweeps the market for high-tier healing potions, knowing a raid boss could be waiting to ambush them. He drops serious gold on a full recovery stock for the squad, then filters the search for second circle offensive scrolls. The shop floods with destructive spells, and he starts buying them in bulk, hoarding every element available. Total overkill, maybe. But with their inventory stacked, he signals to his master that they are locked and loaded. They march toward the shimmering distortion, ready for war, earning a nod of approval from his master. As they cross the threshold, the sunny vibes vanish instantly, replaced by a dark, violent tempest. Lightning tears through the brooding sky, illuminating a terrifying rain-slicked mansion looming ahead. Cut to the real world, a cyberpunk skyline, and the massive Coco Games HQ. We head into a cold, sterile executive suite. Two nervous employees walk up to the desk of Kim Seong-gu, the legendary chief technology officer. CEO Park D-sung is grilling him about killing a major project, but the lead researcher is not backing down. We have to pull the plug now. He drops a bombshell. The beta test did not just fail, it killed his sister's cat. The white-haired exec asks if the hardware caused it. The issue, the connection to materia, blocked all vital sign monitoring. But the boss does not care about a dead pet. He refuses to scrap their billion-dollar breakthrough. That is when the researcher reveals the human cost, my sister. She will not wake up. The room goes dead silent. The executive demands answers, asking if she is in a coma. No, she is literally trapped inside the game server since login. Her brain activity flatlines unless she is hooked into materia. The CEO waves it off, calling it total sci-fi garbage. A colleague presses for details on her avatar, but the researcher shakes his head, admitting they cannot even find her. Even with God mode admin privileges, the system is actively blocking every search attempt. She is a ghost in the machine. Back in the game, our hero and his cat touch down. High above, a monstrous feline glares down from a tower window. It hisses, sensing intruders on its turf, and scuttles back to its mistress for comfort. A spectral woman with glowing red eyes strokes the mutated beast, swearing to destroy anyone who threatens her baby. Below, the player stands in the pouring rain, popping his inventory to grab a glowing appraisal scroll. He scans the creepy mansion towering over them. The interface starts glitching as it analyzes the structure. Result: abnormal space. He senses a chaos domain and a soul screaming for help inside. His partner is itching for a fight. Suddenly, a purple blob bounces out of the front door, a harmless-looking slime. It looks cute for exactly 1 second before it starts twisting and morphing right in front of them. He clocks it immediately, a doppel slime. A rare mimic notorious for copying high-level enemies. It shapeshifts into a lethal dark elf assassin blocking the entrance. Our guy ignores the threat and demands to see the owner. The Guardian does not talk. She just draws her blades. Our protagonist smirks. Okay, have it your way. He summons his shadow army from the darkness. The rain hits the pavement as he orders his minion Riley to take point solo. Riley and another shadow soldier rush in, blades colliding with the elf in a shower of sparks, locking into a vicious stalemate. From the sidelines, he barks one order. Faster. Riley pushes her limits, but the dark elf is moving at supersonic speeds. The enemy lands a heavy hit, launching Riley backward before she can even register the attack. The elf is just a blur of violence. A final combo slams Riley into the mud, and the green-skinned maid desperately reaches for her daggers. She glares up with pure defiance, but suddenly a hooded assassin drops from the sky, aiming a glowing blade straight for the kill. A blinding shockwave tore through the air, only to be stopped cold by a sharp-dressed man and his squad of lethal bodyguards. The hooded killers froze, waiting for the signal as Linus announced that class was officially in session. Meanwhile, the undead kitten trembled, telling its mom the stats were looking grim and more enemies were incoming, causing her face to sink with pure dread. The cat let out a terrified shriek, completely losing it, right as two tiny figures made a dramatic entrance in the courtyard. Just a pink mouse and a gray kitten against the world, until a white blur whipped through the sky. The face-off was cut short by a piercing screech as a harpy swooped down, snatching the little ones while pledging loyalty to Linus. Gasping for air in the bird's crushing grip, the pink creature was forced to unlock a new ability, Cerberus mode. The burst of power made the harpy slip for a split second, giving the pink hero just enough room to tail whip its friend to safety. Sticking the landing, it apologized to Lord Linus for the mess, while the harpy circled like a vulture, and the creature's tail lit up like a flare. Locked in and ready to throw hands, its single monster eye glowed with menace as the harpy conjured a literal spear of light. Dropping its ultimate spear of terror, the harpy shattered the tiny fighter's confidence, landing a direct psychological hit. Razor-sharp talons dove in for the kill, while across the battlefield, the green-skinned maid popped the cork on a red vial. She chugged the potion in one go, feeling her HP bar refill instantly, while nearby, the butler was trading blows with a hooded assassin. He ordered Riley to tag back in once she was patched up, even as the assassin kept up the relentless pressure. So Riley rushed in, daggers blazing, but her attack was effortlessly swatted away, triggering a flashback to her weakest moment. But that memory didn't break her, it was fuel for the fire. Watching the butler defensive stance, Riley realized this was just a tutorial level for him. A wicked grin spread across her face as she asked if he was sweating over their captured boss, right as the assassin lunged with a war cry. Riley met the charge head-on, the impact sending the assassin flying backward until they both reset to a neutral stance. Hungry for more, the goblin maid took to the skies, her daggers raining down sparks against the assassin's blade. The hooded killer swept the leg to deflect, but the maid just clenched her jaw, tanking the hit. Refusing to tap out while the strategist watched their health bars even out, sensing a massive buff was about to trigger. Elsewhere, the giant rat stumbled, seeing stars as the massive predator bird cast a shadow over it. The one-eyed cat started trash-talking the rat's fear, but the rodent just shut its eyes, whispered one down, and snapped back to reality. Burning with hidden potential, it unleashed the Cerberus skill Flame Barrier. A fiery roar ripped from the tiny beast, turning the whole courtyard into an inferno, leaving the one-eyed cat watching from the window. Absolutely shook. Back in the main fight, blades were grinding in a deadlock, the two warriors illuminated by the purple glow of the square. The assassin's sword pulsed with dark energy, but the goblin maid snarled, her eyes shifting to a blood-red hue. The strategist watched closely, knowing the moment had arrived. Her orc trait, Berserker Rage, was now online. The assassin thrust her powered-up sword, but the enraged maid parried with enough force to cause a sonic boom. Panic finally flickered across the assassin's face as she backflipped, trying to create distance from this new monster. But the goblin maid unleashed a flurry of slashes, her daggers hammering against the twin blades as the assassin barely held her ground. Riley let out a primal scream, totally consumed by battle rage, and as steel clashed again, the assassin's stamina was hitting zero. She blocked another desperate strike, but her enchanted blades started to fracture, groaning under the insane pressure, until they shattered into smithereens. Riley wound up for the kill shot, but he stepped in to intercept the final blow. Shouting for Riley to chill, he explained he needed to interrogate the prisoner as the defeated assassin crumpled to the floor. Riley froze her bloodlust, still simmering, until hearing her name snapped her back to her senses. She dropped the "my bad," admitting she got carried away, but he brushed it off, eyes fixed on the assassin who had morphed into a slime. The slime pleaded for its life, playing dumb, so he threw a curveball question about its owner's cat. Figuring it was just a tamed pet, he pressed the creature, bluffing that he already knew the full story. The slime finally cracked and admitted he was right, causing a predatory smirk to creep onto the butler's face. He needed those skill points. Planning to farm them through a game, the doppel slime gave a hard pass, so he dangled a deal it couldn't refuse. Play along and save the owner. The slime sensed some bad vibes, confirming its master was in serious trouble. The butler pulled the walking away move, forcing the slime's hand, and they struck a deal with a dark promise as he lifted the cover. Unveiling a swirling void of dark magic, a shadowy tentacle shot out, snatching the slime in an instant. With the creature secured, he prepped the conversion process, but the slime frantically shook its head. The butler ain't looking for a permanent sidekick. He tells the blob, "Just a temp gig, then you're free." The slime flashes a thumbs up. Deal sealed. Pact accepted. Boom, a holographic system window pops up. Conversion sequence initiated. Blinding mana engulfs the doppel slime. It's done. But then the butler sees the bill, and his jaw nearly hits the floor. He instantly masks the shock from Riley the maid. Damn rare monsters cost a fortune. Suddenly, the young master and Cerberus stride in from the training grounds. "Cerberus totally saved my bacon from a harpy," the kid beams. He's hyping up his gains that Harpy's screech didn't even make him flinch this time. The butler smiles, dropping some well-deserved praise on the duo. The kid says thanks, completely clueless that his gains are actually the butler secretly dumping points into his stats. Classic pay to win. Cerberus barks, he's got a surprise. The butler grins, pulling the new recruit straight out of his shadow. The young master leans in, eyes wide. Cut to the streets, a purple glob streaks through the alleyways, until a pack of star-marked cats cuts off its escape route. One kitty pounces big mistake. The slime engulfs the attacker, instantly morphing into its exact duplicate. It doesn't stop there. Flesh twists into armor until boom, a golden beetle takes flight, buzzing right over the butler and Riley. The star cat roars, eyes glowing like high beams. The audience is losing their minds at this high-level gameplay. The beetle plays hard to get, using its flashy shell as bait. It's kiting the enemy, turning the terrain into a death trap. Sudden shift, beetle melts into slime, then snaps into a fish form, diving straight into the fountain. The cat stares from the rim, totally bamboozled. Hook, line, and sinker. The fish circles lazily, and the cat's astral spirit dives in for the kill. Physical body pawing at the surface while the fish disrespects it with a massive splash. This chase, it's straight up cinema. Underwater, the fish actually smirks. It hits the turbo, but the cat is right on its tail, crackling with raw energy. The fish launches out of the water, exploding into a massive glowing green bird. Even the butler has to admit, this thing is OP, or at least it would be if it wasn't tiny. Reality check, a little blob sits on a silver tray in the park, chilling in a mini crater. The slime pulls itself together, bragging about its moves. Meanwhile, deep inside, a stitched-up cat is watching everything. It clocks the slime's power level and whines to its mom that the security around here is trash. The pale woman panics. Her safe house is busted. The cat tilts its head. "So, are you gonna kill this one too?" She turns away, red eyes heavy with grief. The creature screams traitor, then instantly flips the switch. Sorry, I didn't mean it." Mood swing over. The woman decides it's time to wake him up. Wanyang agrees, it's the only play. She nods, resigned. A shadow cat streaks into the night, launching itself at a giant golden beetle perched on a lamppost. It's on. The butler watches the scrap, sensing the creature's desperate loyalty. Riley leans in confused. How do you know its master is in trouble? He taps his head, conflicting auras. He Sherlock-ed the whole situation. Out loud he laughs, just a lucky guess. Inside he's running the math on how much mana he needs to end this. Back on the tray, the slime is gassed out. It looks at the butler, basically begging, please save my master. The glowing cat goes for the kill shot on the slime, but wham, a blast of energy smacks the butler right in the face. He gets ragdolled down the path, skidding on the cobblestones. He recovers just as the cat thing speaks, Kim Butler. It steps closer, acknowledging the grind. Kim plays it cool, humble as always, but the creature isn't here to chat. It's got loot. Promotion exclusive, Butler. The system pings, class change confirmed. The authority of K-Linus floods his veins. Blue mana explodes around Kim, his old uniform shreds, reconstructing itself into a sleek modern suit. Dark energy swirls like a vortex, and ping a silver lapel pin materializes. Drip upgraded. Transformation complete. He stands taller, radiating a terrifying new pressure. He looks razor sharp, refined, lethal. K-Linus whispers the promise, stay loyal and you get unlimited power. Kim bows, swearing eternal servitude. Pact sealed. Smash cut to a creepy, desolate graveyard. Inside a tomb, torches flicker down a winding corridor leading deep into the earth. Dungeon vibes. K-Linus, looking totally rotted, calls out. A white-haired woman stares down a pair of glowing red eyes behind bars. She knows the prisoner's name, but she's not listening. Instead, she turns to the demonic cat lurking in the shadows. The creature grants a title, Oath Sword. Clank. Clank. A knight in obsidian armor steps into the light. She stands next to her new tank, eyes burning with vengeance. A memory flickers a captured soul. The knight who failed them. Now bound by blood and shadow, the cat demands he pay the price for his sins. He admits his failure. His oath is the currency. The knight drops to one knee, sword down, ready to serve. Who put a target on his back? The intruders. Big mistake. His first order of business, total elimination. Meanwhile, the butler geared up for duty. Unlocked exclusive butler. This wasn't just a fancy title. His power was now hardwired to his master's condition, and with his master on high alert, his combat stats skyrocketed, the surge of energy literally refining his character design. The squad stood frozen jaws on the floor at the glow-up. He shrugged it off, just a perk from Lord K-Linus, while the goblin maid and her crew hyped him up. He promised to make it rain rewards for their hustle. Suddenly, a doppel slime popped up, dropping crucial intel on its master Banshee and her ops. The slime confirmed the glitch in the Matrix. Its master went from living human to wandering phantom. Logic kicked in. A chaos entity had hijacked the cat. Intel secured. He gave the slime a nod of thanks. Massive doors groaned open. He and the maid stepped into the drip-filled hall. The play, neutralize chaos. Silent mode. But if their master got doxxed, it's game over. 0 survivors. Then a voice boomed from the shadows. Stop. Grundar, an armored tank of a knight, threatened instant deletion. The butler didn't even flinch. He demanded an audience. Suddenly the maid pointed up. Ghostmaster was watching from the balcony, reeking of betrayal. The slime shook with rage at the disrespect, but a cold, calculated smirk curled on the butler's lips. He calmly crossed the kill line. Grundar's helmet radiated murder, but blink and you missed it. The butler was already holding the knight's own blade. Disarmed a B-grade guard in a heartbeat. Unfazed Grundar spawned a colossal greatsword and ordered the purge. The night meteor slammed from above, detonating the floor. But the butler was already gone, weaving through the debris with the stolen steel. Barking commands to his squad. The two clashed in a blur, sparks flying as a system notification pinged, power-up confirmed. The armored guardian prepped to swing, but our boy vaulted clean over the lunge, clocking the legendary tier weapon in its grip. Skill activated. He questioned the knight's purpose, while the ability locked onto the gauntlet. Threads of light bound the weapon hand. The guardian just swapped hands like it was nothing, so the butler drove his blade straight through the helmet. Air. He hit nothing but air. Realization hit the knight as a phantom. Blades danced across the grand hall. The spirit laughed at his cheap tricks, but the butler just grinned. He popped a scroll, materialized ghost, and sidestepped a sweeper. This time, thud. Solid contact. Why is a divine knight playing security guard? From the rafters, a creature watched, realizing this butler was way overpowered. Time for mind games. The creature planted a seed of doubt, forcing the knight to relive a past L. Memory unlocked, praying to a stone god. A trial by combat to uncover the truth, both sides swearing to respect the divine verdict. 2 oath swords geared up for the duel, while a man named Elian tried to offer comfort. She trusted the system. But the memory twisted a desperate plea, then a blood-curdling scream with his name. Elian got executed anyway. A masked figure taunted the knight, breaking him. Your lack of faith did this. The villain laughed, pinning the verdict on him. The knight drowned in that memory, soaked in regret. A dark voice whispered, mocking his broken oath. He brought her nothing but despair. Kim Butler realized the truth. A parasite was piloting the knight, feeding on that immense guilt. Corrupted energy exploded from the armor. Meet Oath Sword Grundar. Enemy rank A grade. Unwinnable. Kim Butler screamed for an immediate evac. Too late. The doors magically sealed shut. The possessed cat hissed it was a trap. Grundar swung that massive slab of iron. Kim Butler barely deflected. The impact ragdolled him across the hall, slamming him into the stone. He gasped, health bar dropping. Suddenly, another knight crashed the party, and the goblin maid screamed. The small creature's eyes flared with power. The head butler intercepted a lethal spear, the shockwave shattering the doors behind him. The creature channeled pure energy. A second butler felt the buff meeting the knight's blade head-on. Shadow clones swarmed the knight. The head butler tanked a heavy hit damage critical. The knight's sword pulsed with void energy, backhanding the hooded woman. That triggered the goblin maid. She let out a war cry and landed a fiery haymaker on the armor. The butler was shook by their guts, just as the knight unleashed a massive AoE slash. Small fry were warned to stay back. They were out of their league. Elsewhere, the real master dropped the bomb kidnap attempt. The intruders were there to snatch him. Back in the arena, the knight charged up an ult. The hooded woman froze in terror, but the maid stood her ground. The butler knew he had to tank this area attack. The knight lunged, a crimson blur. The butler raised his sword, bracing for impact as the armored titan swung down with world-ending force. Our boy planted his feet, cracking the foundation. The knight leaped high, coming down for a crushing overhead smash. Boom! A massive shockwave detonates on impact, burying the entire hall in choking smoke and dust. But the butler's attack glitches out. He's hit with a stun, debuff totally paralyzed. Sensing the kill, the knight raises his sword. When suddenly Riley the goblin maid dives in to take the bullet, they both crash onto the ruined floor in a heap. The purple cat starts hyping up its champion Grundar, but the knight's armor melts away like wax, exposing the real Grundar underneath, who looks completely lost. A voice shouts to him from across the room, and the butler scrambles back to his feet. His sword lights up with fresh energy. Auto mode engaged. It locks onto the target. With one word, he unleashes the finisher, while the purple cat watches in disbelief as two weird little mobs spawn nearby. A blinding blue explosion rips through the hall. The butler gasps for air, completely drained from that ultimate skill. Up on the balcony, the pale woman and the cat look down, realizing he was hiding a trump card all along. But as the smoke clears, the butler is the last man standing. The floor erupts in debris, but a heavy question hangs in the dust. Is he finished? The butler catches his breath, amazed it actually worked. But then, thud, a heavy boot steps out of the fog. As the knight rises from the dead, wreathed in dark energy, his mistress screams for him to stop, but the cat yells, "Kill him." He ignores her pleas, dragging his broken body forward for one last showdown. The demonic cat watches, actually surprised by this guy's insane durability. The butler sees his window. He lunges. The blade finds its mark, sinking deep into the armor, critical hit. As the life fades, the knight looks up to his mistress, begging her not to forgive his sins. But she turns away cold, and even the cat dismisses his final words. The butler demands answers. What is driving this dying man? His familiar scans him, and flags a self-erosion curse. To break it, they need intel on that woman. The butler gives the knight a choice. Talk or she falls. But the knight's resolve is made of steel. He protects her to the end. The cat scoffs, its corruption plan wasted, and rage quits the scene to find a new target. The butler knows he needs to stall, so he cues up a capture skill, planning to take the knight alive. But the mistress orders Shima to attack the weakened butler. Yet she falters, guilt-ridden. "I can't do it. You just want me gone, right?" Wanyan snaps at its mother, who starts walking away like an ice queen. Suddenly, a tiny pink mouse blocks the stairs, standing its ground. "You shall not pass." But the creature ignores the little guy, blinded by a thirst for revenge against the butler. The mouse clarifies, "We came for her pal, not you." As purple energy swirls above Wanyan's head, morphing into deadly twin blades, the cat creature laughs, a rat challenging a cat. Big mistake. The mouse reveals its secret skill, gigantification. Wanyan's eyes pop out of its head as the tiny rodent instantly becomes a giant, towering over it with a mock. "I can't hear you from up here." Terrified, Wanyan whips back to its mother, screaming, "Are you gonna let me die again?" It shrieks about her fatal mistake, how she believed their lies, and because of that, everyone died, causing the woman to clutch her head in torment, begging the voices to stop. But the creature keeps screaming, "Listen to me," until the grief becomes too much, and blood starts streaming from her very eyes. Even the giant mouse is stunned by the horror, just as a dark, immense power finally erupts